He was a cute, silly little skeleton who dreamed of becoming a righteous knight, admired by all yet as an undead spirit. In the eyes of humans, he was the embodiment of evil, so he could only hide inside a heavy suit of armor. His name was Gray, originally a wandering spirit from the abyss. One day he met a strange human. At first, the terrified man swung his sword and cut off his head, but as an undead spirit, he would not die as long as his soul flame was not extinguished. And after a few days of interaction, the man discovered Gray seemed harmless, so he gave him his own clothes and even taught him many lessons about humanity. But one day, because there was no food in the abyss, the man's life was coming to an end. He told Gray that if he ever returned to the surface, he must never betray the goodness of this world. After he spoke, the man turned into a skeleton, and his soul flame merged into Gray's body. And so without his companion, Gray wandered aimlessly through the abyss. But the abyss was a dangerous place where one careless move could get you devoured. To survive, Gray disguised himself as a hanging specimen in the laboratory of the archfiend Brutu. Unexpectedly, the plan was a success. Moreover, he even secretly learned a great deal of magic from the archfiend. But one day, Brutu was too busy and wanted to turn the specimen-disguised Gray into a bone soldier to run errands for him, which scared Gray to death. He immediately caused a ruckus in the laboratory and escaped. As he fled, he also happened to grab a few treasures, which made the archfiend Brutu absolutely furious. He ordered that Gray must be turned into a real specimen. Left with no choice, Gray could only venture into human society, but to his surprise, here, the moment humans saw him, they wanted to destroy evil. Fortunately, at that moment, Gray met a ghost inhabiting the body of a black cat. It told Gray that in human society, the undead are symbols of bad luck and death, and they will do anything to destroy you, a bringer of calamity. Just at this moment, at Mermaid's Port, a troop of soldiers suddenly appeared, led by the daughter of a duke named Erin, who was on her way to Count Caspa's estate to ask for aid. Seeing how much the people here revered Erin, Gray couldn't help but ask why those piles of scrap metal were so welcomed. What's scrap metal? Those are knights, and knights are the embodiment of justice and light, so people willingly support them. After hearing this, Gray immediately said, if I become a knight too, then I won't have to fear humans anymore. And so Gray secretly found a suit of knight's armor from somewhere, and even went out of his way to find a book titled Guide to Success. But just then, the black cat said, even if you wear armor, that doesn't make you a knight. Don't let these cheap novels mislead you. Besides, even if you want to become a knight, at the very least, you need to have a war horse. Do you think there is any horse in this world that would let an undead mage ride it? Can you be a little more realistic? Hearing this, Gray fell into deep thought. It seemed he really did need a horse. Immediately after, he began to chant, I am the undead mage, Gray, hear my summons, and awaken, O great spirit. As the words of the chant echoed, a magic circle filled with strange symbols appeared. In no time, a skeletal horse charged out from the magic circle. The great Tenedos. Meanwhile, at the castle of Count Caspa, Erin had arrived with her subordinates. She hoped Count Caspa would help her inherit the title, but Caspa said the king has already decreed that the dukedom will be inherited by your younger brother. How could I dare defy his order? Erin retorted angrily, how ridiculous, my father has only ever had one daughter, and that is me. For the king to arbitrarily prop up some bastard son, is that not just a ploy to seize the Beshier family's territory? That's enough. If King Arian says he is, then he is. Right now, your only choice is to drop the Beshia name and marry my son. That might be the only way to save your life. Casper, so you've finally shown your true colors. If that's the case, then there's no need for more words. Then let's use the most ancient method of the continent to forge a new pact. A duel in the way of the knights. The loser must unconditionally obey the winner. After returning to their quarters, Erin's subordinates couldn't understand her decision. We only brought 20 knights. If it's a battle of attrition, we have no chance of winning. Erin said there's a nearby mercenary group that we can temporarily grant the status of knights. It's not like we have no chance of winning. The scene shifts back to Gray, who has now disguised himself as a wandering knight under the guidance of the Black Cat. They arrived at a nearby tavern. The Black Cat said, the place knights frequent most is a tavern. Now order me a fish. Just as they entered, they caught the attention of the leader of the Flamingo Mercenary Corps. This kid doesn't look half bad. Go ask him if he wants to join the Flamingo Mercenary Corps. Gray was overjoyed, not expecting people here to actually treat him like a knight. But then the Black Cat asked, did you bring any money? Hearing this, Gray quickly took out 1 silver coin, saying he was so focused on grabbing the Archmage's treasures that he only managed to take 1. However, if they were short on cash, he could probably win some from that gambling table very quickly. Gray used magic to clean out the gambling table, winning quite a few silver coins. But as he prepared to leave the tavern with his winnings, 18 men blocked his path. "Kid, if you know what's good for you, hand over all the money. Otherwise, you'll regret ever being born." Faced with their provocation, Gray didn't say a word. Instead, he mounted Tenedos. Then, in just a few charges, he sent them all tumbling to the ground. Even the black cat was stunned by the sight. To think the horse was so powerful, it turned out Gray had cast an enhancement spell on Tenedos. How could these ordinary men possibly be its match the next day? Gray confidently listened to his new comrade's flattery. "With skills like yours, this tournament will be a piece of cake, right?" Hearing this, Gray immediately blushed. Will they really grant me the title of knight?" "Of course. To participate in the tournament, that lady has granted each of us the temporary title of knight." Hearing it was only temporary, Gray was immediately disappointed. After all, what he wanted was the permanent status of a knight. Soon, the tournament officially began with the host's announcement. Although most of Aaron's knights could fight multiple opponents at once, but Lord Casper had hundreds of knights. Even if they could take down 3 for every one of their own, Aaron still couldn't win. Fortunately, they had temporarily recruited members of the mercenary corps as reserves. "Gentlemen, this tournament is of the utmost importance to our Bisha family. I hope you will all give it your best. We're paid to do a job, so of course we'll try our best, but we can't guarantee the outcome." Seeing their lazy attitude, Horace was furious. "What a bunch of rabble!" But just then, Gray suddenly stepped forward and asked, "Sir, if I win, will they grant me the permanent title of a knight?" Early the next morning, the encampment was filled with a clamorous buzz. Mingling with the bustling crowd, whispers could be heard clearly. "Heard the old lord is dueling some big shot from out of town. With our lord's physique? Are you stupid? It's their knights who are fighting, not them. Our Salty Fish Harbor hasn't been this lively in ages." In the crowd, some people in small groups eagerly led their teams inside. "Look, this is that tournament I told you about. Someone's paying good money for this. We'll join in," he said with a thumbs up to a member. "With your skills, this martial contest will be a piece of cake." Ray, still not entirely convinced, asked doubtfully, "Will they really grant me the title of knight?" Thebes placed his hand on his chin, his eyes showing a hint of hesitation, but he replied quickly, "Of course. I heard that only knights can participate, so that young lady gave each of us the temporary title of street knight." Hearing this, Ray was taken aback. You could guess the dejected look behind his mask. It's only temporary. I want to become a real street knight." His 2 eyes lit up his ambition spoken aloud, at the same time inside a tent. A plate of fresh fruit was laid out as Casper sat leisurely enjoying it. He picked up a grape, put it in his mouth, and after eating it, rudely spat the seed out. He glanced at the bustling scene behind the curtain. "I say, niece, look at how lively this is. It would be a great loss of face if you were to lose. I'm only thinking of our family's reputation." In contrast to his excitement, Aaron stated with an ice-cold expression, "You need not trouble yourself with the family's reputation, Count." Hearing that strange tone, Casper looked dumbfounded. "Why aren't you calling me uncle anymore? How strange." She pursed her lips, her expression revealing her anxiety. "If I lose, I will of course abide by our agreement. If I win, I hope you won't make any more excuses, Count." Casper smirked insidiously, his sideways glance revealing his cunning nature. Of course, representing Casper, a high-ranking attendant stepped forward to read the announcement. "This martial contest will include both mounted combat and foot combat using a wheel battle format. The 2 sides will send out 1 knight to duel in the arena. Losing the ability to fight or surrendering will result in elimination. The winner must accept the challenge of the opposing knight, and will have the right to decide whether the next match is mounted combat or foot combat, and so on. Victory will be decided when all the knights of one side have been eliminated. If Count Casper loses, he must swear an oath of fealty to Lady Elam. If Lady Elam loses, she must accept the marriage proposal of the Count's son, and the wedding will be held immediately," he said, lowering the paper and looking at the crowd. "Next, please welcome the guardian knights of Count Casper to the arena. So many knights, there must be 100 or 200 of them." He gave them a look and then continued, "Next, please welcome the knights of Lady Elam to the arena," in stark contrast to the previous fervent atmosphere. Seeing the size of Aaron's team, everyone was shocked. "Hey, why are there so few? There are only a few dozen of them. This is pathetic. How can a few dozen people possibly fight against several hundred? This noble lady is a complete fool. Whatever, as long as we get a good show." I'll bet 5 coins on the count winning. Knowing the odds were in his favor, Casper put on a condescending air and laughed insincerely. Elim paid no mind to the foolish words of the commoners. Don't mind them. Uncle knows you want to prove yourself. Rest assured, I won't let you suffer a humiliating defeat. Aaron didn't bother to argue, turning instead to ask host, have the mercenaries arrived? He immediately reassured her. Don't worry, they're already waiting outside. Without further delay, the martial contest officially began. The knights from the two sides charged, the tension palpable from the very first second as the clash of metal rang out. The deafening clang of steel on steel attackers and defenders clashed in a thrilling battle. One of Casper's soldiers carelessly left his head exposed, allowing his opponent to strike. He fell backward, suffering a humiliating defeat. First match, Elim wins, Casper loses. Immediately, 2 other combatants took the place of their teammates and charged forward. A heavy spiked mace was swung high into the air. Aaron's knight in blue slammed the weapon right into his opponent's stomach. The outcome was decided in an instant after that fatal blow. Second match, Elim wins, Casper loses. But when the 2 third knights stepped forward, the tables began to turn. Third match, Casper wins, Elim loses. Fourth match. Host felt uneasy about this sudden change in results. Damn it, our numbers are a complete disadvantage. My lady, let me go up, I can take down 10 of them. Although Aaron was tense, her voice betrayed no sense of urgency. She reassured him, don't rush, go and call the mercenaries. The host didn't expect this move and asked back blankly, She intended to use mercenaries to wear down Casper's forces. Aaron hadn't made a thoughtless decision, she gently explained. Our manpower is limited, we must deploy them carefully. Upon hearing the order, Bus was ecstatic. Hey brothers, the noble master is calling us up, don't disgrace yourselves. The men in his group were all ready, some watching with anticipation, others quickly wiping their weapons to sharpen them. So soon. After just a few matches, the host was the one to deploy them. He sincerely pleaded, Gentlemen, this tournament is extremely important to the PC clan. I hope you can help our master achieve victory. A handsome man cracked his neck and criticized, easy for you to say? Our entire mercenary group only has a little over 40 men. Facing hundreds of people, how do you expect us to win? Another, also displeased, stated bluntly, We get paid to do a job and we'll do our best, but we can't guarantee the result. The host already had no love for mercenaries. Now being judged so openly, he grew angry and cursed under his breath. Having to rely on this rabble is truly humiliating, all while still being unsure how to handle the situation. Then one of them spoke up. I have a question. Ray bravely raised his hand and got straight to the point. Mister, can you grant me knighthood? The host was dumbfounded, wondering, didn't the young lady already grant you the title of street knight? And Ray looked straight at him, his eyes sparkling with hope. That's not what I want, not a temporary title, but a real knighthood. But the host, of course, didn't want these insolent mercenaries to be on the same level as him. He clenched his fist tightly, cursing, Give them an inch and they'll take a mile. But just at this moment, Aaron stepped forward. Hold on, she said in a gentle yet dignified voice. You want to be a real knight very well? But a knighthood must be earned through merit, it cannot be granted casually. Sir, if you can defeat 50 men for me, I will grant you the title of knight. What do you say? Ray didn't expect this situation. Aaron's request made his face turn serious. The kitten also looked bewildered. 50 people, are you kidding? This woman is just making things difficult. The kitten glared and whispered into its master's ear, Ray, refuse her. But unexpectedly, he just beamed with a wide smile. He gave a thumbs up in agreement. All right, it's a deal. The kitten instantly froze like a statue, its eyes wide and mouth agape in disbelief. Aaron let out a sigh of relief, her shoulders relaxing, while the host stood beside them completely dumbfounded. How refreshing. I shall await your good news then. Let's go, host. He was so dazed it took him a moment to understand, yes. Behind them, the clear sound of a kick and a sharp curse was heard. It was the kitten's shriek. Are you stupid, you idiot? What in the world is going on in that brain of yours, Ray didn't think much of it. He remained perfectly calm and explained, It's only 50 people, right? Why so tense? Tenda can take down 100 guys. The kitten didn't know how to react. Its face went blank as it muttered like a lost soul, Tenda. In the arena, the 2 knights from Casper's and Aaron's sides were still fighting fiercely, not forgetting to throw taunts at their opponent. Hey, buddy, you see they're still fighting over there. So far, they've all chosen infantry combat, which means for Tendas to enter the arena, you have to win an infantry match. The kitten was terrified, breaking out in a cold sweat, yet it still diligently played the role of advisor. Only the winner gets to change the combat style. Do you even know swordsmanship? To its surprise, its master just gave a clueless look and said, "Huh, absolutely not." The kitten sat frozen, sighing instantly. I knew it. I have to think of a way out of this fast. Back at the tent in the arena area, Casper saw Aaron and Hose return to their seats and smiled. "So Elam is back. I never expected you would go. To ask for help from that group of hooligans, that mercenary band. No wonder the family has fallen so low." Aaron slowly sat down in his chair, not forgetting to retort to the malicious taunt. "We'll have to wait until after the match to see if we've fallen or not." Outside, one of Pass's subordinates called out to him. "Boss, the young lady is calling you to the stage." He eagerly waved his hand. "Got it." Pass's expression gradually changed. The two corners of his mouth, which had been stretched ear to ear, now began to fall. It seems the fun vacation is over. When the sword blade left its sheath, the initial goofy grin was replaced by an arrogant smirk. So let's get serious. His demeanor and aura startled Count Casper for a moment. Pass entered the match with the incredibly arrogant mindset of a powerful fighter. It wasn't long before the well-trained knight had to yield the stage to him. Pass's agile and decisive sword strikes gently pierced the fighter's chest, making it look like he was just playing around. Not at all like a duelist in a match. In an instant, his opponent collapsed backward. Pass celebrated by himself, puckering his lips to whistle a cheerful tune. His mercenary group and the audience below cheered enthusiastically. "Pass, pass, that was beautiful, Pass. Get another one, get another one." Casper, sitting inside, grew anxious, his body trembling with anger. "Damn it, who is that mercenary? He's won 5 matches in a row." His attendant leaned in to report. "He is the leader of the Red Scorpion mercenaries, bad guy." Casper regained his composure, sizing up the opponent. "He's just a mercenary, that's all. He's getting too arrogant." His worried face instantly twisted into an insidious expression. "Send that one up next. That mercenary group must learn the consequences of opposing a count." The audience below buzzed with discussion. Pass is as strong as they say. The Count's knights are just useless fodder in front of him. I bet Pass could win another 10 matches. Just then, the powerful footsteps of a newcomer silenced everyone. "Shh, quiet down. The Count has sent a new knight onto the field." But in unison, the audience's expressions turned to horror. "Wait a minute, what's with that guy? What is that? Is he a giant?" Neither Aaron nor Hose expected Casper to pull such a vicious move. A sudden unease gripped them both. The knight who just walked out had a tall, muscular, and intimidating build. He bared his teeth in a menacing grin, threatening, "Let's have some fun, buddy." Pass was taken aback by his opponent, who was 3 times his size. He scratched his head, tongue-tied. He really is. But surprisingly, he wasn't scared for even a second. His eyes even gleamed with excitement. "I'm going to have to find that young lady and raise my price." Meanwhile, over with Gray, he helplessly collapsed to his knees. "It's no use. This sword is too hard to use. Let me think. Is there a spell that can make a sword move by itself?" But the kitten was even more helpless. It could only advise Gray, "You should just give up." The sun climbed higher as if to add to the climax of the competition. Light puffs of white dust rose from the spacious arena floor, the crowd of people jostling to watch for a moment. All froze in panic. That guy is a terrifying monster. The referee continued the match. Count Casper versus the Knight of Lady Elam. His booming voice added more drama to the contest. The 12th match began as soon as the signal was given. That giant immediately lunged towards Pass. He was nimble and with a smaller body, so he instantly dodged out of his opponent's sights. He couldn't hesitate like before. He drew his arm back slightly to build momentum for his sword strike, slashing in an arc to inflict more damage on the giant, but unexpectedly the giant treated it like a mere itch, his pupils flashing along with a sinister smile. After hitting the giant's steel-hard back, Pass's sword blade snapped in 2. Weaponless, he stammered, his eyes widening as far as they could go, as if trying to clearly confirm what had happened. Pass's mind went blank. Is this a joke? As the giant turned and ran after him, Pass also hurriedly turned around. This is bad, I have to get away quickly. But before he could even lift his foot, he turned pale as a massive shadow fell over him. The giant opened his mouth, roaring with power, while bringing a sword down upon him. The necklace Pass was wearing around his neck snapped right after that. It flew freely up into the sky. Aaron and Host couldn't look away even though both were terrified inside. Until now, Pass was the only gladiator to have coughed up so much blood. His body staggered backward, then he gave up, letting his opponent fling him to the very edge of the arena. Pass's abdomen was still oozing blood, staining the fabric there a deep crimson. The mercenaries under his command gathered around. "Pass, are you okay?" But how could Casper not be pleased seeing Aaron's gladiator fall at the hands of his own? He laughed excitedly for a few moments. "Very good, this is what happens when you go against me." Only after a while could Pass's groans be heard. He brought a hand to his head, trying to gently straighten his chest. Then Pass pushed himself up, feeling a cracking sound inside his body. "Almost all my bones are broken." He trembled as he propped himself up on one leg. Looking at the giant swinging a mace in front of him, he despaired at this situation. "I have to make that young lady pay double." As the giant's mace swung down, Pass quickly leaped up to dodge the blow. He went all in against the giant, making full use of his broken sword blade. Although the broken tip reduced the damage, it couldn't lessen the sharpness of the blade's edge. Pass took advantage of this, aiming straight for his opponent's weak spot. Blood spurted from the giant's two eyes. He bared his teeth as pain surged through him. A blind gladiator's combat power is greatly reduced. The giant clutched his face and screamed, "Damn it, my eyes!" Pass intentionally landed a good distance away from him. To avoid another slip-up, he once again leaned forward to gain momentum. He shot across the ground like a bullet. A taste of his own medicine for how the giant had toyed with Pass earlier. Now he was paying him back and then some, unwilling to accept this humiliating and painful end. The giant hissed a curse. "You fought dirty, you bastard, but no one could save him now." The giant fell face first into a pool of red blood. Pass stood with his back to him, glancing back slightly. "I'm no bastard. I'm just a lover meeting his beloved in this salty fishing port." The great Pass, the super mercenary. The crowd was greatly relieved seeing him win, but didn't forget to tease him. "Pass is spitting blood and he's still acting so tough, yeah." Seeing how serious the situation was, Aaron ordered host to get him down and then find a doctor. He obeyed. "Yes, my lady. The battles have been going on continuously since the sun came up." Now the afternoon sunset bathed the whole town in orange. Kitten looked at Gray with utter exasperation. "Why aren't you going to watch the tournament? What are you doing hiding here?" Gray answered shyly. "I'm making a weapon. Because I really can use a sword. So I want to make a kind of weapon that I can use." Although Kitten had no faith in him, she still urged him on. "Fine, but if you don't go there soon, the competition will be over." He looked up at the sky, which was about to turn dark, and was startled. How did that happen? The match between Elim and Count Casper dragged on until nightfall. By this point, Elim's side had suffered heavy losses, 4 dead, 7 seriously injured, and a few surrendered. Only 6 people who could still fight remained. On Count Casper's side, although their individual combat strength was no match for Elim's, they relied on their overwhelming numbers with 61 people still standing. Therefore, every single one of them, just like their master, always sneered contemptuously at their opponents. Seeing a comrade fall, one would decisively raise their hand and say, "Let me take the next one." Meanwhile, Bus sat leisurely on a rooftop watching the show. Tisk tisk. "Those knights under Lady Elim are certainly valiant, but it is 6 against 61. Even if one of them could take down 10 opponents, the enemy would still have 1 person left. It is a no-brainer they cannot win." As he was sitting there eating cake and enjoying the spectacle, host suddenly called up from below, hay-chewing with a mouthful of cake. He replied, "What do you want with me, old knight?" Host looked up with a scowl. "You have the nerve to ask why I am looking for you. More than half of the mercenaries under your command surrendered mid-fight. What is wrong with you people? Where has all your knightly spirit gone?" Bus shrugged indifferently, resting his chin on his hand as he retorted, "Come on, old man, you said it yourself. We are mercenaries, not knights. We are only paid to fight for you, but we never said we would die for it." Bus's practical logic left host speechless. He was trembling with anger. "This brat. Calm down, calm down, calm down. I did not come here to argue with him." Host tried to regain a calm tone. "Let us put this aside for now. In your group, there is a guy who crossed the sea and claims he can take on 50 men, the one who always has a cat with him." "Where is he, Bus?" As if suddenly remembering, Shrug spread his 2 hands wide and laughed. "Oh, you mean Gray. Who knows? Maybe he got tired of waiting for his turn and went to feed his cat or something." Host's voice turned serious. "I am not messing with you right now." The situation grew more tense as the referee announced the result. Count Casper's side wins again. Host had to cut himself off and turn around, clicking his tongue in disgust. He hurriedly pushed through the crowd and stormed towards the arena. At this rate, Lady Elim's side would be down to just 5 people. "I cannot let Casper keep winning like this. The referee was still commentating enthusiastically. It looks like this match will be decided very soon. Host's fighting spirit flared as he made his decision. It seems I have no choice but to go out there myself. Just as he was about to step forward, a deafening noise stopped him in his tracks. Startled host reflexively whipped his head around to look. What was that sound? Someone was approaching the arena, immense power gathering at their feet, just seconds before the gate to the barracks had suddenly begun to shake. Less than a second later, it came crashing down, creating the noise from before. The crowd stared, their mouths hanging open in disbelief. Gray, now fully equipped, was ready for battle. "Excuse me." His eyes were as sharp as daggers, his voice firm and clear. How many people does Count Casper have left? Casper, who had been lounging in his seat, felt his smile instantly disappear. The glass in his hand dropped and shattered. Meanwhile, Erin, who knew he was on her side, was so surprised she jumped to her feet. The worry in her big, sparkling eyes began to melt away. The corners of her mouth relaxed into a small, amused smile. This guy, he is pretty good. But Gray had not just broken the gate, he was carrying the huge thing on his shoulder, and he still had enough energy to roar at that old man. On Count Casper's side, Host, who was about to make a last stand, was now frozen to the spot after witnessing Gray's incredible strength. But he quickly snapped out of it to give him instructions. "Perfect timing, there are still more than 50 of them. You can go right ahead." Gray grinned and accepted. "All right then. Just as I thought, I am right on time. Well then, I am heading straight into the arena." As soon as he finished speaking, he hurled the large gate forward. It soared through the air, creating a whooshing sound like a storm as it tore through the wind. The gate flew straight as an arrow and crashed into the center of the arena. And finally, it plunged straight into the ground, standing tall as if drawing a line, knocking the nearby gladiators far away as the gladiator on Casper's side trembled like a leaf. The opponent clutched his shield defensively, while Ray grabbed onto the top of the gate, perching himself on it and looking down with a sly grin. The time for games was over. Ray sprang to his feet, releasing the iron chains on his spear, and announced, "I'm ready. Let the match begin." The opponent gulped, trying to suppress his confusion and fear. Before Ray even made a move, he dropped his weapon, knelt down, raised both hands, and cried out, "I surrender." This side chose to surrender. Ray wasn't arrogant or teasing. In fact, he was overjoyed to see it. "All right, then." He stood up high, craned his neck, and shouted loudly. Next, whoever was called upon cried and wailed miserably, "I don't want to go. Are you kidding? Fight that kind of monster. I'll be sent straight to my grave." All the gladiators who were so arrogant moments ago were now in a frenzy, shoving the responsibility onto one another. "You go, no, you go. Why don't you go? Aren't you supposed to be the tough one? The Count is still watching. You should go." Knight Gray stood alone up high, watching this chaotic scene unfold. Casper couldn't take it anymore, clenching his fists and cursing. How dare he tear down the Count's manor gate to use as a weapon? Ridiculous. I absolutely will not allow this to happen. Gray's actions had stirred up the entire town. People flocked to see, what the heck is that? It looks like the Count's main gate. Who is that guy? What's his name? He's so badass. But Casper was anything but happy to hear these words. He clenched his fists so tightly his veins bulged. Damn it. How did things turn out like this? His attendant leaned in and whispered, "My Lord Count, this is bad. The knights would rather resign than fight. However, it's not as if we don't have another option. We just need to change the competition format to mounted combat." "A joust," Casper repeated. He sighed wearily. "I suppose that's the only thing to do." Ray grew bored from waiting. He looked down impatiently. "Isn't the next challenger here yet? They're so slow." Finally, someone stepped out. Casper stood below, arms outstretched like an orator. "Young knight, your strength is truly something to be admired. As the organizer of this competition, I am very eager to see your horsemanship skills. Perhaps everyone here is also wondering if your equestrian skills are as worthy of admiration as your strength." This sudden proposal left Gray confused. Horsemanship. Erin, seeing through the old Count's treacherous nature, gritted her teeth in anger. She stood up and decisively confronted Casper. "The rules of the competition are supposed to be set by the winner. To decide the format of the next match, right?" he retorted defensively. "Don't be so rigid, Elim. If you don't accept a mounted combat match, my men will not fight. If they don't fight, the competition will drag on indefinitely. That's not the outcome you want, is it?" Erin, being upright and kind, didn't know how to respond to Casper's venomous taunts. So he leisurely continued his proposal. "In short, brave knight, are you willing to accept the request for a mounted combat match?" Ray was completely unprepared for this situation. He didn't know what to do. He could only scratch his head and stammer, Excuse me if I accept the mounted combat challenge. Can you send all of your knights to fight me? His request startled Aaron. She couldn't believe her ears. Casper also never expected Ray to be so audacious. Everyone was stunned. You mean, the last one on my side will take the field now, Ray said sharply, his voice rising coolly. If you guys only fight halfway and then refuse to come out, I won't be able to fight all 50 people. Sir House snapped, scolding. Are you insane? How can you possibly deal with so many people all by yourself? Casper, proud of his superior numbers, of course agreed. Certainly it's a deal. What a wonderful suggestion. An idea sparked in House's mind. This is sheer madness. He frantically tried to stop this absurd duel, but a voice suddenly rang out, extinguishing his resolve. Ray, that is your name, isn't it? Aaron stepped outside, looking up at the knight standing high above. Seeing her, House paused. My lady, you place your complete trust in Gray in this situation because he is 10/10 certain. And only then did he make such a suggestion. Is that right? He seemed surprised to see her come out this far. Oh, not wanting to disappoint Aaron, he lightly thumped his chest and affirmed that's right. I will bring you victory. Aaron's spirit was soothed, and she spoke gently then, that is good. Go and show your prowess to the Count Ray. May the Holy Spirit be with you. Ray rose onto his toes, and in the next moment he was gone from the top of the gate, diving straight down below, not forgetting to thank her for her kind words. As he was about to land, a horse flew in from nowhere to catch him. The crowd buzzed with excitement following this shout. Quick look over there, and everyone turned their eyes up towards the starry sky. Gray's kitten was spurring a flying horse to meet him. The people's eyes were glued to this magical scene. A horse on the rooftop. Ray twisted mid-air, gently grabbing the reins to land on its back, while Casper impatiently urged his men, What are you gawking for? Tell our knights to get into the battle. His attendant quietly replied, Yes, sir, then turned and shouted, All knights prepare for battle. A cavalry troop was led to the arena, the knights spurring their horses forward one after another. Whether we can regain our honor depends on this battle. Take that guy down. End this farce. The kitten was intimidated by the opponent's overwhelming morale, its face going blank. Hey, Ray, what in the world is going on? Casper's cavalry was numerous and unpredictable. A bald man, apparently the leader, frowned and roared. The opponent is only one person. This is a great chance to turn the tables in one go. All of them, with spears and lances, ready, charged forward with seething energy. The bald man led the charge, pointing his sword at Gray, who cleanly dodged by leaning back. He looked at the man, his eyes unwavering and resolute. Since the opponent struck first, he didn't bother holding back or playing fair, his hand moving down to grip the hilt of his sword. With one hand, he delivered a decisive slash, while the other pulled the reins, urging his horse toward the next opponent. The bald man likely never expected to be knocked out in a single blow. So his face was filled with resentment, but the next moment he was stunned to realize he didn't have a single scratch on him. Still trembling, he rubbed his chest and watched Gray ride past, wondering what he was doing. Don't tell me he doesn't know how to use a sword. Gray confessed hastily, like a child. Sorry, I just wanted to try it out a little. The kitten shrieked about these puny horses. Tendas could take care of them with a single hoof. The bald guy flew into a rage, gritting his porcelain-white teeth as his cheeks flushed red with shame, and he screamed, You dare mess with me, I'll kill you. The kitten sat facing Gray, eagerly acting as his strategist. Well, this is just great. You've angered all the knights. What are we going to do now? Gray lowered his head with a troubled look. If I can't use a sword, then let's use the old sorcerer's methods, the kitten asked innocently. The old sorcerer's methods, Gray interlaced 4 of his fingers, keeping 2 straight with their tips touching. He began to cast a series of layered spells. 4-fold spell of giant strength stacked. A 4-fold protective armor spell stacked on a 4-fold swift wind spell. The bald guy caught up to Gray and aggressively raised his sword. He stopped. A great chance everyone charged forward, but they didn't know that he had stopped intentionally to face them. This was no longer a test. Blood flowed in streams as one by one they fell to Gray's powerful spiritual energy. He spurred his horse and charged straight into Casper's troop of knights. Wherever the horse's hooves trod, they brought a murderous aura that claimed lives. Chaotic sounds filled the air. Get out of the way, what is that? It's no use. We can't stop him. One of them spoke up to reassure the others. Don't panic, this kid's specialty is riding. He cunningly aimed his sharp spear at Tendas's neck. We just need to kill his horse. But he had no idea that Tendas also possessed a source of spiritual energy, so his spear couldn't even touch its hide, let alone the fact that he was kicked squarely in the stomach by a hoof. Causing him to spit up blood, Tendas's kick sent him sliding a long way. Gray took the opportunity to gallop away. The remaining knights hastily dodged to both sides. "Damn it, what kind of joke is this? Get out of the way or you'll be sent flying." He laughed with glee, grinning from ear to ear. "'Tend as you're having fun, huh?" The man from before now lay pitifully on the ground, coughing his lungs out. He lifted his head to watch Gray's retreating figure, forced to exclaim, "So terrifying! That's truly a monster!" Under the gentle light of the full moon, Gray's proud silhouette sat atop his horse, both majestic and romantic. The painful reality made Casper lose his composure. He shrieked, "Impossible! There must have been a mistake somewhere." Host felt happy for Gray. He really did it. The sword that Bunny Gray had dropped was picked up by Aaron. She called out loudly after the knight. Aaron respectfully presented it with both hands. "Your sword." Gray didn't dare to look at her, accepting it shyly. "Ah, thank you." Aaron remained standing there for a moment before Gray took the initiative to remind her also about that other thing. "I've fulfilled our agreement. I've defeated 50 people in the competition. Can you bestow the title of knight upon me?" Aaron looked at him and smiled. Today she could finally feel at ease. A gentle smile bloomed on her fair face. "Of course I will fulfill my promise to bestow upon you the title and rank of a knight." All the spectators who watched the battle cheered enthusiastically, congratulating Gray. Spring Holy Calendar 50,753 within the Kingdom of Ezak. In the south of the great CL continent, a great knight was born who would one day change the entire state of the world. Some, because of this, left in anger. Some cheered enthusiastically, but he himself was still unaware of this. He was busy with tears welling up in his eyes while everyone else roared with laughter. "Why are they tossing me up? I've been exposed. When did this happen? They're not going to shatter my bones, are they?" A young man with a beaming face ran off excitedly, shouting loudly, "Hurry to the other side of the city wall." His friend asked curiously, "What's wrong? What's happening?" Near the wall, many people are gathered in rows, screaming as if they've seen an idol. "It's gold, there's gold. A rain of gold, silver, and precious stones is falling from the city wall." The people around were cheering. The knight who defeated 50 people yesterday is giving out gold and gems. Long live the knight! While the people were overjoyed, the kitten stood frozen like a stone statue, its eyes wide, muttering, "I say." It turned to Ray with a look of disbelief and asked, "What are you doing?" While tossing gold down from the city wall, he smiled brightly and replied nonchalantly, "I'm sharing the treasure I found with the poor. It all started last night." Ray was kneeling, being knighted by the cool, goddess-like Lady Erin. The silver moonlight symbolizes good fortune. "We met under the moonlight, so I will bestow upon you the title of Silver Moon Knight." After the ceremony concluded, she said, "Please forgive me for such a simple vow ceremony. I hope you will stand by my side from now on, my knight." He answered bravely, "Yes, I will fight for you." He then went to a large, magnificent, and splendid palace. A servant led Gray to a room and said, "This is the room the young lady has arranged for you, esteemed Silver Moon Knight. Please rest well." He nodded and replied yes. Gray entered and looked around the luxurious room with its large bed-silk curtains and scented candles. He let out a sigh and philosophized, "This world is truly insane." The kitten, who had already been sprawled out on the bed for some time, leisurely wagged its tail. So the demon really became a knight. Gray let out a small smile, but suddenly his laughter grew more and more maniacal. This startled the kitten, which turned its head, its eyes full of judgment. Contrary to his imposing and cool appearance, he jumped up and down and cheered like a child who had just received a favorite toy. "I'm a knight now. I'm a knight now." He was so excited that he ran back and forth in the room. The kitten sighed and thought to itself, "This laughter really has that demon's flavor to it." After a while, Gray calmed down, took 3 deep breaths, and pulled out a book, nodding. "I can't get so excited. As a knight, there are many things I don't understand. I must study quickly." He sat properly on the bed, flipping through the pages like a student before a final exam. The kitten beside him curled up lazily, wagged its tail, and said, "Study, study. Just don't make any noise. I need to sleep." Hearing this, Gray picked it up and pleaded, "Don't sleep. I still need your help and advice." He flipped a few more pages, pointed at the book, and read aloud as if giving a presentation. "The knights in the book always share the treasure they find with the poor." Feeling confused, he turned and asked the kitten, "So where do I find treasure? And who are the poor back in the present inside the study?" Aaron was sitting and approving documents with a serious expression when 2 of her subordinates entered. Without looking up from her work, she asked, "It's early in the morning. Why are the 2 of you looking for me, Appy and Rubelhouse?" Abby spoke first, his voice full of dissatisfaction. "Forgive me for being blunt, my lady, but Are you really going to use that gray fellow? Aaron calmly replied, as if she had just heard something perfectly normal. You must have witnessed his prowess with your own eyes. I need his strength. He offered a series of reasons to dissuade her, but we do not know his true identity, nor do we know his past. He did not even lower his helmet during the oath ceremony. What if he was sent by the king? Hearing this, Aaron unconsciously tightened her grip on the quill pen in her hand. The ink bled onto this paper. Regaining her composure, she spoke. If he were sent by the king, I would not be able to sit here talking with you right now. Right. Startled by the question, he was stunned. Aaron sighed softly, her voice gentle as she advised, Do not use those you doubt, and do not doubt those you use. Abby, he is the steward I trust the most. I hope this matter will not be brought up again. He could only bow his head and reply, Yes, my lady. Just as the atmosphere was both tense and serious, the door to the room was suddenly kicked open. A knight panting heavily rushed in and shouted, This is terrible, Lady Aaron! His face was filled with panic as he stammered. The Silver Moon Knight, he. His next words left all three people in the room petrified. He robbed Count Caster's treasury and is now scattering the money on the city walls. Hearing the story, a vein throbbed on Aaron's temple, and she was so furious she snapped the pen in her hand into two pieces. The sound of the snap made both host Abby and the knight flinch and turn their heads. Aaron propped her hands on the table and took a deep breath, her whole body emitting a dark aura like a final boss preparing to strike. Everyone asked with fear and worry, My lady, are you all right? Your complexion is not very good, she replied. I am fine. Is Ray still on the city walls? I am going to see him. Everyone hurriedly tried to stop her. My lady, please calm down. Put down the sword in your hand first. But Aaron had never considered herself a standard lord. In the air, two swords clashed, radiating a sharp aura. On the training grounds, Aaron was seriously practicing swordsmanship with her father. She listened to his grand explanation. Above is good, pay attention to your defense carefully, huh? Suddenly, her father abruptly changed his attack direction, causing Aaron to slip as if on a banana peel. Seizing the opportunity, he immediately struck to take Aaron down. She landed on her bottom, her sword knocked to one side. He smiled and said, What is wrong, Aaron, if you fall at this level? Then you can never become the next Grand Duke of the BC family, you know. But Aaron had a trait that even she did not notice. She struggled to kneel up, panting. Inside, Aaron was fuming, emitting a murderous aura and muttering, What hope do you have for a girl who is not even 10 years old? Old man, but on the outside she put on an Oscar-worthy performance of an obedient child. Please let me try again, father. That was her. She was extremely skilled at putting on an act. Back to the present. In the mansion's hallway, Aaron led the way, followed by Host and Abby. Her face was dark, her heart filled with resentful blame. What is that knight doing at a time like this? Does he want to cause more trouble for me at this crucial moment? That old fox Castor is the same. He clearly lost the duel. Yet he keeps avoiding me, refusing to sign the oath. She imagined Castor collapsing on the ground while she held a sword in one hand and grabbed Ray by the collar with the other, thinking, I really want to beat them to a pulp. Her face was now as gloomy as an approaching thunderstorm. Host and Abby, standing behind, broke into a cold sweat, thinking, She is definitely thinking that. Meanwhile, on the city wall, Castor was jumping up and down, questioning and criticizing. You robber knight! Look what you have done. Ray hugged a bag of jewels in his arms. He put on a pitiful face and said, I am just sharing the treasure I found with the poor. Every knight does this. Castor clenched his fists and shouted angrily, What treasure that is my treasure mine? He pointed at him, cursing. You are just a despicable thief. He looked down at the bag in his hands and asked sorrowfully, So you are saying these treasures already have an owner? He retorted in annoyance. Seriously, you should have written your name on it then. How else was I supposed to know it was yours? He heard that and flew into a rage, blaming me. Now at the foot of the city wall, Abby heard the argument loud as a marketplace and said it seems they're arguing very intensely. He worriedly advised my lady we should intervene and stop Gray before things escalate. Of course, besides just putting on an act, Aaron possessed another quality that was indispensable for a lord. Aaron looked up at the city wall, thinking to herself, this combination of Gray and Casper, isn't this a perfect opportunity? It was the ability to perceive and seize opportunities with surprising speed. On the wall, the atmosphere was chaotic. Casper was so angry, veins were popping on his forehead as he pointed at Gray and roared. Enough, I don't want to argue with you anymore. Get your master out here. His shout echoed like thunder, but just at that moment, From the entrance came the rhythmic sound of footsteps as Aaron entered with her retinue. Her very first words made him flinch. Well, well, how rare for you to actively seek an audience with me, Uncle Casper. She smiled gently and said, You've been avoiding me for so long, I thought you didn't want to fulfill your oath. Casper, visibly trembling with fear, turned his head and stammered Ireland. Seeing the situation spiraling out of control, he tried to explain and regain his composure. How could that be? I was just... But Gray was faster, cheerfully waving as if to an old friend. Lady Aaron Knight Gray greets you. Aaron maintained her gentle demeanor and waved. Hello, Gray. Standing nearby, Casper was so furious at this wild, undisciplined knight that he nearly chewed on his robes. Aaron stepped forward. That's right, Uncle Casper. She leaned in and whispered in his ear, her voice impeccably polite, but her words dealing critical damage. You understand perfectly, don't you? If you refuse to fulfill your oath, I will have the right to seize your title immediately. Hearing this, Casper's face turned ashen as if all the blood had been drained from it. Nearby, Gray watched the two of them, a question mark floating in his head. Casper glanced at Gray, and in that instant it all clicked. So that's what this is about. His face darkened as he falsely accused her. You deliberately sent him to rob my treasury. Aaron smiled and asked, Oh, whatever are you talking about, Uncle? I only just found out about this myself. My knight is a bit tactless. I will compensate in full for the damages he has caused. After all, I'm not like certain people. I, for one, hold my honor in high regard. He furiously threw down the contract, then turned his back to leave. Fine, isn't this the oath you wanted? Take it. Don't think that just because you've taken a few of my troops, you can stand against the king. She watched him go smirking as she replied, That is no longer your concern. Behind her, Gray asked in alarm, My lady, did I do something wrong? He was trembling with fear when he heard her reply, No, you did very well. She gave a twisted, villainous-like smile and muttered that old fox has completely forgotten. That until I become the Grand Duke, I have no right to strip him of his title. This is all thanks to the pressure Gray put on him. Hose and Abby, their faces deathly pale, shouted in unison. My lady, you're saying your thoughts out loud again. Be careful, reminded. Aaron withdrew her aura, her expression returning to normal. Sorry, I lost my composure. Anyway, Gray, you did very well this time. She didn't forget to add a warning. However, seizing someone else's property on your own is wrong. I'll help you cover the costs this time, but if it happens again, it will be deducted from your salary. Understood. He bowed his head dejectedly and replied, Oh, okay. After everything was taken care of, Aaron coldly ordered, We've gotten the pledge scroll. So there's no need to wander around this salty fishing port anymore. Ray, pack up tomorrow, you'll follow me back to White City. He immediately shouted, Yes, ma'am. Ray stood at attention behind her, watching her figure depart. Then he bent down, picked up the kitten, and whispered, By the way, what's a salary? He mumbled. The cat looked up, its eyes filled with the weariness of a lifetime, although it had vaguely sensed this before. But as expected, it glanced at Aaron walking away ahead and sighed internally. What can I say? Birds of a feather flock together, only an unreliable lord like this would take in a weirdo knight like Ray. His future looks bleak at dusk as the sun set behind the mountains. Aaron rode at the head of the troop of soldiers moving forward. Riding behind on his horse, Ray glanced around and was astonished to see the road crowded with soldiers. Turns out we have this many people, huh? Why didn't I see them during the tournament? The kitten lying on his back lazily explained, These are just regular soldiers, only knights were allowed to participate in that competition. It looked at the iron-clad soldiers in front of them and thought to itself not to mention the 1,000-man squad from Casper obtained by exploiting the contract is mixed in with them. The massive army marched onward in a long line, its heart filled with unease, feeling like something bad was about to happen that night. The moon was bright and clear in the sky. The army had stopped to set up camp and light fires, and while everyone was resting, a frantic voice suddenly called out from the camp, Lord Gray, Sir Gray, the Silver Moon Knight. A soldier rushed over out of breath, and upon seeing Gray on his horse petting the kitten like it was at a spa, he sighed in relief as if he'd just been saved. Silver Moon, I've finally found you, sir. He asked doubtfully, looking for me, for what the soldier replied. I'm not sure about the details. Lord Host ordered you to go to Lady Aaron's tent. Inside the main tent, Host stood with his arms crossed, veins popping on his forehead. Unable to hide his frustration, he shouted, My lady, I still can't accept this. Aaron, who was sitting and reviewing documents, explained softly, Casper's pledge is an opportunity. We can use it to compel more lords to join our faction. Therefore, I need reliable messengers to spread this news. There is no one more trustworthy than you two. So what exactly can't you accept? But host full of worry pointed out, if you send me and Abby Robbins away, won't you only have Gray left by your side? What if that kid has some ulterior motive? Erin slammed her pen on the desk, freezing the air and cutting him off enough. This always circles back to the issue with Gray. Then let's talk about reality for a moment. She rested her chin on her hand, looking at her two retainers. Her gaze calm, but her words hit like a bombshell. If Gray had malicious intentions toward me, would you two be able to stop him? The two of them froze like statues upon hearing this, their faces pale as if struck by lightning, unable to argue back. Erin calmly observed their stunned expressions and sighed softly, her voice as light as the wind, yet deeply philosophical. You can't, can you? So instead of staying by my side, it's better for you to act as envoys to expand our faction. Just then, Gray gently entered the tent with the clueless look of a new student reporting for the first time. Lord Host, were you looking for me? Instantly, the temperature in the tent seemed to drop below zero as both Host and Abby turned their heads at the same time. Their gazes were icy and filled with a palpable hatred, making Ray tremble before their death stares. He couldn't help but worry, wondering to himself, did I do something wrong? Why do I feel like they're all targeting me? But to his surprise, Host approached, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said in a deep, warm voice, I'm entrusting the lady's safety to you. Ray, which made him jump, huh? After saying that, Host and Abby Robles immediately left the camp, so Ray was left behind in a level 10 mental crisis, his mind racing with questions. Why on earth did he call me here? Who is Antoine? Is it the young lady's pet? What should I do? He stood frozen, turning to look at Aaron, who was approving documents, planning in his head how to ask without sounding stupid. Or maybe I should just ask Lady Erin. She seems very nice. Let me think about how to start. Milady, where is your Antoine? He remembered the cat sleeping lazily outside the stables and wanted to bang his head against a wall. Why is the black cat sleeping outside right now? Somebody help me. As if sensing his anxiety, she asked, Are you very worried? Hearing her voice suddenly made him jump. No, I'm not worried because I don't know what to do at all. Erin rested her chin on her hand and mumbled, You don't know what to do, huh? She gave a simple explanation that Ray was very grateful for. Simply put, just stand guard here. Defeat anyone who tries to ambush me. She rested her chin on her hand, amused. You really are a strange one, Ray. Her next words were like arrows, piercing straight through his heart. You won't take off your helmet. You don't know the knight's oath. You must not be from this country, right? Perhaps you're not even human. It's all truly suspicious. In a normal situation, even I wouldn't accept a suspicious knight like you. He broke out in a cold sweat and replied anxiously, What are you saying, milady? Of course I am a knight born and raised in this very country. Erin glanced over, noticing his desperately evasive eyes. She spoke reassuringly, You don't need to be so nervous, Ray. I'm telling you these things, not to question your identity. On the contrary, I just want you to know that no matter who you were or what you did before, from the moment you swore your loyalty to me, you are my knight. Meanwhile, outside the tent, the kitten sleeping soundly on a horse's back suddenly opened its eyes. It jumped fur on end at the sight of a dark figure in the sky. Erin's voice still echoed from inside. I will vouch for your identity and ensure you will not be harmed because of it. That is all. Ray was incredibly moved, thinking, Milady, you truly are a wonderful lord. If he had a tail, he would surely be wagging it while vowing I will be eternally loyal to you. Erin smiled at that, thinking he's so easy. She then became serious again. That's enough small talk. Abby Robles's group has been gone for some time now. Her subtle hint made him tilt his head in confusion. Prepare yourself, we're about to receive some guests. And just as she finished speaking, a sharp sword sliced through the tent's fabric. A man in a purple cloak and a mask appeared right above Erin. He smirked, his crimson eyes flashing as he spoke in a deep, crazed voice. White-haired, blue-eyed woman. Target confirmed, beginning extermination. The Poison Fang, an assassin organization based in the south of the Isaac Kingdom. As long as the price is right, they will kill anyone from princes and nobles to the elderly, the weak, women, and children. Within the Poison Fang organization, there is a most feared assassin named Shadow Demon. While other assassins may kill for money, Shadow Demon is pure evil and takes pleasure in the act of murder. Now Shadow Demon had appeared above Erin. His terrifying crimson eyes fixed on her as he declared, white-haired, blue-eyed woman, target confirmed. Begin extermination. He broke into a crazed smile. He licked his lips like a movie villain and declared, now scream for me. Tremble in fear, for your terror is the most... He couldn't finish his sentence before a strong force hit the ghoul's face, struck by the pommel of Gray's sword. It sent him falling from the tent roof, rolling a few times before stopping face down, revealing a pair of pink underwear with a cute duckling print that would shame the ancestors of assassins. Ray exuded a murderous aura, vowing to defeat anyone who tried to ambush the lady. Aaron was stunned and called out Ray's name. The ghoul holding the sword that had wounded him was still confused. Aaron, however, was lecturing him that swords are not for throwing. Ray scratched his head through his iron armor in embarrassment and said sorry. The ghoul regained his composure, smiled, and offered praise. "You have a decent night, my lady." Ray immediately rushed to shield her, saying, "Be careful, my lady. Please hide behind me." His eyes were filled with vigilance. Why does this human possess a killing intent greater than an archfiend? Ray stared at the ghoul who was tightening his grip on his sword, his entire body radiating a dense killing intent, and wondered. Is he a demon too? A necromancer, or simply someone who has killed too many people? Suddenly he lunged forward, swinging his sword as fast as the wind. Gray was stunned, his heart filled with fear. So fast I can't even see his movements. I've been hit. I'm dead. Aaron was also shocked, watching the splattering blood in disbelief. The ghoul's joyful laughter echoed, "Sir Knight, did you feel that? You've been sliced into 2 pieces already." Gray snapped out of it and let out a tragic scream, much to Aaron's amazement, while the ghoul was still laughing maniacally with delight. Then suddenly Gray started to cry. While the ghoul's smile remained, Gray turned his head with tears in his eyes, causing the ghoul's smile to vanish and be replaced by a look of confusion as he looked down at his own broken sword. The ghoul raised his broken sword, his body frozen like a statue. Ray suddenly entered final boss mode, appearing behind him with a thunderous killing intent, as if preparing to unleash an ultimate attack. But the ghoul didn't notice because he was too busy holding up the broken sword with his mouth agape in disbelief. "My precious sword, how could this happen?" Suddenly Gray's expression changed. With tears in his eyes and a look as pained as a heartbroken maiden, he blurted out an accusation. "Didn't you say I was cut into 2 pieces? You liar, I was genuinely scared, you know. It's so humiliating, I can't stand it anymore." Ray shed crocodile tears, then swung his hand, shouting, "You liar!" The ghoul saw the approaching hand, was startled, and gritted his teeth. The ghoul's eyes widened at the incoming hand as he quickly took a defensive stance, thinking to himself, he's actually using a slap, what a fool. Just as he had that smug thought, Gray's slap connected with his face. An attack like this, I can block it with ease. It turned out Gray used the secret technique 8-fold Titan Force Slap. The blow sent the ghoul flying, spinning once in midair. He was dazed by the slap, wondering what on earth had just happened. Meanwhile, Aaron stood by, watching the two as if it were a play, thinking to herself, do these two really not understand the situation? She recalled every detail and began to analyze the situation with that foolish assassin. He clearly broke his own sword in 2 with the very first move, then smugly proceeded to swing the broken blade another 10 times. She had a deadpan expression, wondering how Ray hadn't noticed at all. Is it my problem or their problem not caring anymore? Aaron sighed and ordered, "That's enough. It's all right, Ray. Just throw him out. There's no point in leaving him here." He immediately replied, "Yes, ma'am." As Ray dragged the ghoul away by the leg, he suddenly spoke. "But my lady..." His question stunned her. "Did you know from the very beginning that an assassin would come?" "Right," she replied, while continuing to approve documents. "Well, on average, one shows up every 3 days. Since my escorts aren't with me, I figured it was about time." Hearing this, Ray was shocked and repeated 3 days. He thought in fear, "This is even worse than when I was being hunted underground." As the ghoul was thrown out of the tent, Aaron asked suspiciously, "You came to pledge your loyalty to me without even knowing my situation?" The ghoul lay sprawled on the ground before the astonished eyes of the onlookers while Gray continued his story. "I really don't know. They just told me that you could make me a knight." Then Aaron clutched the paper in her hand and said, "Although this is nothing new, I should still explain it to you. In short, it's for money, for power, or perhaps just out of simple fear." She gave a bitter smile and explained, "Because of those reasons, many people wish I would just disappear from this world. The cause of all this isn't complicated. 2 months ago, the Grand Duke of the BC family passed away unexpectedly. He left a will specifying that his only daughter, Aaron, would inherit his title and estate, but at that very moment, an illegitimate son named John suddenly appeared. And let's not even get into whether the Grand Duke actually had an illegitimate child or not. According to the law, an illegitimate child has no inheritance rights. The problem is this child was brought forward by the king, and the king has the power to grant him the right to inherit. Because he is a son, the king can grant him a legal claim. Even with the Grand Duke's will, his right of inheritance still doesn't surpass Aaron's. This is a blatant conspiracy. The king wants to use this bloodless method to seize the BC territory. Some people fear the king's authority, so even knowing the truth, they don't dare to step up and help, while others see an opportunity for personal gain in this. They want to kick her while she's down. In short, ever since her father passed away, many people have been hoping this 16-year-old girl would disappear quickly, which is why, for her assassins, have become a daily occurrence. The capital of the PC Duchy White City. Soldiers on the ramparts look down, saying that's a group of horses galloping furiously towards us, and the one leading them is Aaron. As soon as they saw her, the soldiers on the wall cheered with joy. It's Lady Aaron. Lady Aaron has returned. Quick, open the gates to welcome the lady. This is wonderful. Nearby on the wall, Sally appeared with an admiring smile. Well, you really made it back alive. Just as expected of you, Aaron. She leaned happily against the wall, her expression and voice full of anticipation. I heard that this time she went to Salty Fish Port and met a very valiant knight. She looked down, her hair blowing in the wind, and mumbled, how interesting. I really want to see if he's anything like the rumors say. The city gates opened, and Aaron on horseback led her mighty cavalry inside. Soldiers stood guard on both sides as the townspeople looked on, murmuring among themselves. It's really Lady Aaron in the flesh. Is the one beside her the Silver Moon Knight, the one who can fight 100 men? The kitten on the horse's back suddenly turned its head and asked, Hey, Gray, did you understand everything Lady Aaron told you last night? Caught off guard, Gray broke into a nervous sweat and answered awkwardly, to be honest, I didn't really understand much. This business about an illegitimate son. Inheritance rights. There were too many words I didn't understand. But I do get one thing. I have to defeat that guy they call the king. Otherwise, this knight title I worked so hard to get will just disappear. The kitten, hearing this, mumbled in disappointment. Well, you're not wrong. Gray then looked up and around, saying then again. He looked at the dense rows of buildings on the street, at the magnificent palace up ahead, then turned to see the people gathering by the road and the children playing. By the fountain, a clown was juggling and vendors were carrying fruit. Gray watched the people here and whispered, This place is so lively. I like it. It feels so alive. Aaron, who had appeared beside him, said, I suppose I'll take that as a compliment. He called out in surprise, my lady. She glanced around and smiled. You're not wrong. White City is a good and lively place, which is why I have to protect it. Remembering something, she turned her head and asked, Oh, right, Ray. After everything is settled, I will prepare new battle armor for you and your warhorse. Do you have any requests? Ray asked again. New battle armor. Aaron began to list and analyze, and the more she spoke, the more it made his head spin. After all, you are an important official of BCS now. Your attire must have a certain flair. Just tell me if you have any requests for the material or the weight of the armor. I will help you cover the cost of forging it, so do not worry. His slow mind was spinning, but he still did not understand, so he just said, I do not really understand these things. I will just follow your lead. She mumbled, You are so casual about it. Aaron stared straight ahead and then spoke up again. Also, there is something I need to inform you about. After all the arrangements are made, I will invite all the nobles in the city to a ball. After all, I have to let those people know. I have returned with my surviving troops. She turned to look at him. Therefore, as my guardian knight, her next word struck him like a bolt of lightning. You must attend the ball with me. She smiled encouragingly. You, the one who can practically fly with the wind. I believe there are many people looking forward to meeting you. So prepare yourself well. Suddenly, soft, pure white feathers appeared in the sky. The angel Catherine, with her large wings, was flying in midair, looking down at the city below and speaking mechanically. Target confirmed, one immature warlock. Her eyes locked onto Gray, who was riding his horse, requesting permission to engage. A directive came from above, according to the Koibao Pact signed with the warlocks. Unless he harms a human, observe for now and do not engage him. Like a programmed machine, Catherine replied, understood. That night at the magnificent, luxurious castle. Look at these magnificent patterns. In the middle of the lavish room, a brand new suit of iron armor was displayed like a limited edition item. The small kitten standing next to Gray was looking at the gift before them with sparkling eyes. He clasped his hands, showering the iron armor with a torrent of praise. It looks like some kind of ancient script. So cool, I love this suit of armor. The kitten beside him asked with an assessing look, so they really managed to make this just by measuring the outer dimensions of your old armor. That young lady sure indulges you, does she not? Ray, with a hand on his hip, replied, receiving a look full of disdain from the kitten. Well, Lady Aaron is a wonderful and great lord after all. The kitten could not hold back anymore and went straight for the jugular. Speaking of your good lord, are you ready for the ball she told you to attend tonight? Upon hearing that, Ray immediately looked crushed. His face full of gloom, he mumbled, "That is the thing. What exactly is a ball?" The kitten kindly began to explain a ball. "It is a party where everyone gathers to dance." Ray then asked, "What is dancing?" The kitten immediately stood up to demonstrate, waving its arms and legs as if to illustrate it is hopping around like this. A giant question mark appeared on his face, but he still moved his arms and legs with a serious expression as if he were participating in a grand god-summoning ritual. Like this, he swayed for a while and then came to his own conclusion. It seems to be some kind of mystical ritual. As they moved to the next step, he showed his excitement and praised, "Cool, I like dancing." The two shadows, one human and one cat, danced and swayed in the room as if performing a rain dance. Then suddenly a voice called from outside, "Sir Silver Moon Knight. Excuse me, are you ready yet?" Ray panicked and shouted, please wait a moment." He hastily put on his armor, then cracked open the door with a look of pure anxiety like an introvert being forced to socialize. And he asked, "Excuse me, is something the matter?" The maid smiled gracefully and replied, "Esteemed knight, I am Lady Aaron's personal handmaiden. If you are ready, please follow me. The young lady is waiting for you." She bowed slightly and extended a hand to lead the way. "This way, please." He shyly nodded, "All right." A servant walked over, grabbed the handle of a door, and pulled it wide open. The servant went inside to announce, "Milady, the Silver Moon Knight has arrived." The moment Ray peeked inside, he froze. Aaron was wearing a galaxy blue ball gown. A voice said, "All right, you may leave." She gently turned around, revealing her exquisitely made-up face and meticulously styled hair. The moment Ray saw her, his face flushed bright red. The dress fit her perfectly, accentuating her figure and skin tone. The dress was dotted with sparkling diamonds and gemstones. Ray stood there dumbfounded, his face beet red, thinking, what kind of masterpiece is this? What kind of masterpiece? Gray clasped his hands, getting extremely excited as he imagined himself wearing a cloak made of such a luxurious fabric. What a magnificent material. It would be absolutely perfect for a mage's robe. Yes. Aaron walked to the hallway and asked gently, "Are you ready?" He nodded, "I'm ready." Hearing that, she extended her hand and said, "Then let's go down." Ray nodded and replied yes, but he didn't move, just standing there with a blank look on his face. Aaron's hand remained extended, unanswered. The atmosphere seemed to freeze. He asked in confusion, "Didn't you say you wanted to go downstairs?" "Why aren't you going, milady?" The kitten on his shoulder angrily punched his head a few times with its paws, scolding. What she means is she wants you to escort her down, but Gray still didn't understand why does she need escorting. Are her legs crippled or something? The kitten was so angry its fur stood on end. Stop asking and just do it, meanwhile. Aaron had been holding her hand out for so long she was about to lose her temper, but she tried to maintain her composure, thinking, surely I'm allowed to get angry now, right? Finally, Gray stepped forward and took Aaron's hand. The two of them walked towards the staircase together. Ray looked down at Aaron intently and then complimented her. "Milady, your dress is very beautiful today." She replied coolly, "Thank you." Even though Gray was blushing and had lowered his voice as if to confess, the words that came out were earth-shattering. "Can I wear it?" After hearing him, Aaron paused. Regaining her composure, she whipped her head back and asked, "What did you just say?" Ray looked at her with pleading, puppy-dog eyes. "Can I wear it?" She asked again, stunned. "That's not the issue. You want to wear a dress." As they walked together under everyone's gaze, Ray asked expectantly, "I can't." Aaron froze, "But you're a man." Hearing that, Ray looked confused and scratched his head. I'm a man." At that moment, after Aaron heard those words, she felt as if she'd been sucked into a vortex of existential philosophy. But Gray was just as stunned as the kitten shrieked angrily, "You idiot! Are you trying to blow your cover? Change the subject quick." He hurriedly gestured frantically, trying to explain, well, actually, it's not that I want to wear it that much. Just forget I said anything. I have my armor, and that's good enough." Aaron stared at Gray, stunned. Her mind raced as she began to connect the dots. He doesn't want to take off his helmet, refuses to remove his armor, and doesn't want to talk about his past. He likes pretty dresses. It couldn't be, could it? Her jaw dropped as she imagined the handsome face behind the mask, wondering if this was not just Gray, but the asterisk Gray. Down in the ballroom, where many nobles were gathered, chatting in groups, a servant by the staircase received the announcement and immediately shouted loudly, "Lady Aaron has arrived." Just as he finished speaking, Gray appeared holding Aaron's hand, and the two of them descended the stairs together before the crowd of nobles. Upon seeing her, they immediately bowed to greet Lady Erin, but in the crowd at Oot raised his head to stare, and when everyone saw Gray, they immediately began to whisper and gossip. "That's the Silver Moon Knight, isn't it? I heard he took on 100 enemies alone, single-handedly defeating Count Casper's Knight Order. Someone even saw him uproot a large tree with one hand. And why is there a cat sleeping on his shoulder?" Erin then took a glass of wine from a servant, smiled, and began to speak. "Welcome everyone to the ball of the BC family as the 13th heir of the House of BC. I hope everyone has a wonderful time tonight, and I hope our families will continue as we have before." To maintain our good relations, she raised the glass in her hand, declaring, "I also hope to take this opportunity today," and with that she drained her glass, "to resolve all past unhappy misunderstandings." Afterwards, Sally ran to Ut's side, covering her mouth as she laughed. "Grandpa, Lady Erin is targeting you." He calmly replied, "It is nothing." Ray, noticing him as well, asked, "My lady, who is that old gentleman? You seem to be paying special attention to him," and hearing his question, she introduced him. "That is Count Ruglu at Ucha. The Ruglu are a prestigious house with a long history, controlling great wealth and a large army. They are the #1 target we need to win over to oppose our king. But unfortunately, he has already rejected me." The band began to play, and the guests below started pairing up to dance, but Gray was very worried and asked, "Then does that not mean we are in trouble?" She lightly held the hem of her dress and replied, "It is fine. If he came tonight, it proves there is still a chance." Erin approached at Ut and bowed. "It has been a long time, esteemed Uncle Gru." Sally smirked slightly as she watched her. At Ut returned a leisurely smile and asked, "It has not been that long, has it? Not even half a month, right?" Erin gave a faint, elegant smile and nodded gracefully. Then she gently stepped forward and offered Uncle Ruru, "Will you not ask Erin for the first dance?" He gave a gentlemanly bow and said, "The pleasure is all mine." Then he took Erin's hand, and as Ray saw at Ut led her away, his eyes widened. "She is leaving. I have to follow." But just as he took a step, Sally moved to block him, her tone gentle yet firm. "Wait a moment," she asked with a smirk. "That is a dance between my grandfather and Lady Erin. Why are you following them?" The simple question hit its mark, leaving Ray to freeze and stammer, "I cannot follow." She denied it, "Of course not." "If you really want to dance," Sally suddenly extended a hand towards him, leaning in with a wide grin, "then I can dance with you." Sir Knight Ray, along with the kitten, stared blankly at her outstretched hand. He was silent, not saying a word. Ray felt confused and turned to his savior to ask, "Why is she extending her hand to me too? Is her foot also sprained? How can she dance if her foot is sprained?" The kitten nonchalantly glanced away and replied, "I do not think her foot is sprained." Then it added in a low voice, "But for the sake of your good liege, I suggest you keep your distance from this girl." Ray immediately went on alert, ready to leave at a moment's notice. Seeing this, she gave him a smile that hit a dagger. The kitten grabbed his head and yelled, "Idiot, what I said wasn't about physical distance." Suddenly, tears streamed down Sally's face. She sobbed so hard she collapsed to the ground, asking why he would do something so cruel. "Sir Knight, do you feel that Sally is not beautiful enough?" The kitten watched from the side in horror, thinking, "Oh my, this girl is a master." Meanwhile, Ray was completely bewildered, wondering what he did wrong to make her cry. It hastily grabbed Ray's head and ordered, "Ray, stop her from continuing this act or we'll be in big trouble." He asked in a panic, "What should I do?" The kitten immediately offered a plan. "Just say that's not it." "Lady Sally is the most beautiful girl in the world." He hesitated. "But I think Lady Ariel is also very beautiful." It immediately scolded him, "Who told you to tell the truth?" "This is just to placate her. All women like to be flattered like this." Ray had no choice but to obey. He sat down in front of Sally, held out his hand, and said in a sincere tone, "That's not it. Lady Sally is the most beautiful girl in the world." Hearing this, Sally was stunned, She placed her hand on his and asked, "Then, Sir Knight, would you ask me for a dance?" Ray turned in panic and asked, "What do I do now?" The kitten replied, "You can't escape it now, just dance." Ray obeyed and took Sally's hand. He pulled her up, saying, "The honor is all mine." Sally thought smugly, "Finally it's settled, even if it was a bit humiliating. Silver Moon Knight, I really want to see what you look like under that helmet." With just a glance, the kitten knew what she was thinking. It thought gleefully, "Go on and be smug for now. You picked a clumsy fool to dance with. You'll learn your lesson soon enough." Inside the palace of the BC family, a cry echoed continuously, "You stepped on me." Sally's miserable scream caught everyone's attention. "You stepped on me again!" Erin and Ashley both smiled awkwardly as they heard Sally scream, "You stepped on me again and again and again." Ray cried inwardly, "I'm sorry, this is my first time doing this dance." Sally, trembling all over, replied, "It's okay. Actually, it's my first time too. My first time dancing with someone in armor who keeps frantically stepping on me." As they reached the middle of the dance floor, Sally instructed, "Don't be nervous. Slowly, you have to learn to lead me." Ray stammered, "But you're a better dancer, you should lead me." Sally pouted and frowned, asking, "This has nothing to do with who dances better. You're the man, so you have to lead me, understand?" Hearing this, Ray broke out in a cold sweat, feeling utterly confused. Why do Lady Erin and she both say I'm a man? Am I really a man? As Ray continued to dance, his expression filled with joy, and he said, "But dancing is actually really fun." Seeing he was getting it right, Sally praised him. "That's right. Just like that. You're a pretty fast learner, aren't you?" Atut stood to one side, looking toward the dance floor, and asked, "Is that the Silver Moon Knight? I heard he's incredibly strong, able to uproot a large tree with his bare hands. But why is he still wearing armor on the dance floor? Is this place not safe?" Aaron, standing nearby, replied, "You must be joking, Uncle. If this place isn't safe, then nowhere is. It's just a habit of his. By the way, Uncle, regarding Aaron's previous request, could you please reconsider it seriously?" He smiled and told Aaron, "I don't deny the talent you've shown as a lord over the past 2 months. He explained, you are very outstanding, but that's still not enough. Gruglu only supports the one who is certain to win. This is the ancestral teaching of House Gruglu, and the reason we have been able to endure for 1,000 years. Aaron glanced at the floor and said in a cold voice, "What a pity, then." When the dance ended, Gray smiled happily while Sally patted his chest and praised him. "You're a quick learner, young man." She pointed to the door and suggested, "It's been too stuffy in here for so long. Shall we go for a walk outside?" He immediately agreed, okay. So Gray escorted Sally out of the castle. They walked together toward the stairs. Then Sally took off her high heels, revealing a frightening reddish-purple mark on her foot, and sighed, "Oh, just as I thought, it's swollen." She sat down on the edge of the fountain, her voice full of sadness. "This is going to be a problem. My foot hurts, I can't go back to dance anymore." With teary eyes, she asked the culprit, "Hey, you're the one who stepped on my foot and did this. Aren't you going to show any reaction at all?" Ray bowed his head pitifully and replied, "I'm sorry." Sally sighed and shrugged. "I wasn't asking for an apology. What I mean is, can you find some medicine and then help me apply it?" Ray asked doubtfully. "Medicine?" She nodded and urged yes, some kind of ointment for external wounds. The kitten lounging on his shoulder suddenly covered its mouth and snickered. "Asking you to help apply the medicine? I see it now. This girl wants to flirt with you." Ray asked doubtfully. "Flirt?" The kitten explained in a low voice, "It means to tease you and then fall in love with you. After that comes producing offspring, and then you will be completely imprisoned." Ray heard another confusing phrase. Producing. The kitten quickly said, "Sorry, that word is too difficult for a long-dead spirit like you." Ray knelt in front of Sally and asked, "It's true I don't quite understand, but she wants me to help with her injury, right?" Seeing him suddenly kneel, she was shocked and her face flushed red, asking, "What are you doing?" Ray then used one hand to lift her foot and used the power of a holy healing spell with his other hand. Sally looked at the source of light before her in shock. "My goodness, this is magic!" A knight who knows magic. Ray was still focused on healing her and didn't notice her surprise. Just then, Matthew appeared. Seeing Gray holding Sally's foot, he was so stunned he dropped his bouquet of flowers, muttering, "What are you two doing?" His whole body trembled and his eyes welled up with tears. He had followed them out here because he was worried about Lady Sally. "And yet you're holding a lady's foot with your bare hands!" He furiously shouted, "Are all the knights from House Becia this shameless? I wish to challenge you to a duel." Hearing this, Ray became excited. "A duel, that's great. But before he could finish, the kitten swung its leg and kicked him right in the head and scolded, "Grate my foot." It snapped in frustration. "Are you an idiot? That girl's family is a party that Lady Erin wants to win over right now. If you fight with him over her, it will cause a political problem. Hurry up and explain. Just say you were only helping her treat the injury. For the sake of her honor, she will surely vouch for you." But before it could finish, Sally cupped her blushing face and exclaimed, "Oh, my 2 young men want a duel over me. I'm such a sinful woman." The kitten held its head and cursed silently. "Is she insane?" A single feather drifted down as Catherine, who had witnessed the entire exchange, murmured. So that magic just now was indeed holy magic. An undead being who can use holy magic, how interesting. Inside the brightly lit palace, the feast was still underway. Erin heard the commotion and turned her head in confusion. "It's a bit noisy outside." Did something happen? Just then, a frantic knight ran inside to report Lady Aaron. This is not good. Sir Silvermoon Knight, it seems you have offended Miss Cello of the House of Google. Hearing this, Aaron frowned deeply. The House of Google at a time like this, is that not too much of a coincidence? She ordered, "Take me to see." The knight hurriedly replied, "Yes." Outside the tranquil garden, Matthew's sky-tearing scream suddenly rang out. Sir Silvermoon Knight, "Aren't you going to explain yourself?" Ray, not understanding anything, asked back, "Excuse me, what do you want me to explain?" Matthew was so angry he could have exploded. Still playing dumb, he shouted in front of everyone in the courtyard, "Of course you need to explain why you humiliated Miss Cello." Hearing this, Ray's head broke out in a cold sweat. Confused, he turned to the kitten for help. "What does humiliate mean?" "It means to bully." "Then why did he not just say, 'bully this person'?" "Is so strange." Seeing that he did not answer, Matthew felt emboldened and pressed on. "You cannot explain, can you?" He walked over to Selly and said arrogantly, "Miss Selly, please tell everyone what this scoundrel did." The lady then told it exactly as it was. She gently smiled and explained the situation. "I think you have misunderstood." She found it strange. Who in the world is this person? After speaking, she even lifted her skirt to show off her smooth, scar-free foot as if advertising Sir Silvermoon Knight was only treating my injured foot, not leaving a single scar. It is truly amazing. Matthew did not believe it and mumbled, "Is Miss Selly trying to make excuses for him? Your kindness will only harm yourself." He angrily pointed at Ray and accused, "How can there be a medicine in this world that heals a wound in an instant without leaving a scar? Miss Selly has surely been deceived by him." The surrounding nobles, hearing this, took the opportunity to gossip as if watching a live television show. "That is right, there is no way such a medicine exists. To dare deceive an earl's daughter, this knight is truly malicious." Hearing the whispers, Ray looked around blankly. He cried out in fear, "Why is everyone saying words I do not understand? This is so scary!" The kitten in his arms was going crazy with anger. "That is not the point. If you do not explain clearly, you are done for. Just you wait to be socially ostracized and have your reputation destroyed." Just then, Aaron, along with her people and Uncle A.T., walked out and asked, "What is everyone gathered here for?" The moment he saw her, it was as if he saw the light of his life, and he called out earnestly, "My lady!" The tall, socially anxious knight started crying like a child whose toy had been snatched. "My lady, everyone is saying things that I do not understand." "Mommy, someone is bullying me." Seeing her arrive, Matthew immediately spoke up critically. "Miss Aaron, you have come at the right time. The character of a knight from the House of BCS truly leaves one speechless." Aaron understood the situation at a glance and requested an account. So what exactly happened? He immediately started to embellish what he had witnessed. "When I arrived at that courtyard, I happened to see the knight from the House of BCS getting handsy with Miss Cello." Hearing this, Uncle A.T.'s face darkened, getting handsy with Cello. Aaron, afraid he would get angry, stopped him. "Hold on, do not get worked up. Let us hear from the person involved before deciding." She turned her head and called out, "Ray, come forward and explain." "I accidentally stepped on Lady Selly and injured her during the ball, so I just helped her with some healing." After hearing that, Aaron turned to ask the other person, Lady Selly. Selly rested her chin on her hand, deep in thought, then she suddenly had an idea. "Sir Knight, how about you use that thing one more time in front of everyone?" He asked back, "That thing." She reached out her hand and said excitedly, "That's right, the one that healed me in the blink of an eye with a poof." Ray lowered his head worriedly and hesitated about this. He clenched his fist sadly and said, "I'm sorry I can't use it a second time in such a short period." Inside the armor, Ray was taking off his glove, revealing his injured hand. He thought anxiously, "After using holy magic, my hand gets burned immediately. It takes several days to recover. If my other hand gets burned too, I won't be able to use the puppet technique to control the armor anymore." Matthew angrily pointed at him and shouted, "What do you mean you can't use it? That's a ridiculous excuse. I think you're lying. You must have threatened Lady Selly to make her cover for you." Hearing this, Atut's face darkened and she spoke in a cold voice. "So that's how it is. A threat from the strongest knight of the BC family. Aaron, before you ask for my help, I hope you can manage your own subordinate." Hearing that, Aaron bowed her head in apology. "I'm very sorry, Uncle Grugru, but I trust my knight." The aura around her changed, her eyes turned sharp, and her whole body exuded a murderous intent as she declared, "I will investigate this matter thoroughly. If I find out someone is causing trouble and slandering the honor of a BC family knight, I will not let them off easily." Matthew flinched when he saw her enraged expression. Atut turned away angrily. "Is that so? The Gru family will not get involved in your family's affairs. Let's go." Selly was startled when called, but complied. The next morning, a troop of soldiers marched towards White City. The numerous soldiers were equipped with iron armor and provisions. Host stood on the city wall with Aaron looking down with delight. "This is great, my lady. It's Count Few bringing his army to help us. This way, the military forces of the 3 counts of the BC, Duchy, are all gathered in White City. The situation is starting to turn in our favor." Aaron stared at the troops, a suspicion rising in her heart. "Phew, Edward. I had just returned to White City, and he arrived right after. Isn't that too much of a coincidence?" Below, the troops were led by Few, who held his head high with pride. Remembering something, she quickly asked, "That's right, host. Who is the person you sent to investigate last night who targeted?" "Gray," he replied. "That's young Master Matthew of the Modin family. He's one of Lady Selly's ardent pursuers. The reason he targeted Gray is likely out of simple jealousy." Aaron's suspicion hadn't faded. "Is that so?" she asked again. Hearing her tone, host asked, "My lady, is there something else that concerns you?" She shook her head. "Nothing for now. Let's go down and welcome Count Few." The city gate opened, and Aaron led the way on horseback to greet them. She smiled and called out, "Welcome, Uncle Few, my dear niece. I hope your uncle isn't late." She smiled and replied, "Not at all." "Uncle Few, you've arrived at the perfect time." Remembering something, the old man started to probe. "That's right, Aaron. Has that old geezer Gru shown his stance yet?" She broke into a sweat and hesitated about that. Seeing her expression, Few immediately understood. In an annoyed tone, he said, "That spineless fellow. Is he not planning to take a side this time either? We should just tie him up and give him a good beating." Aaron gave an awkward laugh. "Please don't do that, Uncle." Suddenly, the old man burst out laughing and gave Aaron a slap on the back, making her spit blood, yet he just laughed loudly. "Don't mind me, Uncle was just joking." Aaron laughed awkwardly and said to her still joking uncle, "You still love to joke just like before, huh?" Suddenly, the old man stopped laughing and said in a serious tone, "But listen, Aaron, honestly, you just can't reason with some people. Only after you make them feel real pain will they know how to choose." Aaron smiled and nodded, "Thank you for your guidance, Uncle." But then she glanced curiously behind her, her eyes landing on the carriage with suspicion. "Uncle, what is in that carriage?" The old man followed her gaze and answered, "Oh, that's my son, Sheem. His health isn't good. The doctor said he can't be exposed to the sun, which is why the carriage is covered with black cloth. If a civil war really breaks out, leaving him behind is not an option. It would be very dangerous, so I brought him along with me." She stared intently at the carriage and asked, "Is that so, poor Jimmy? May I go and see him?" The old man laughed loudly. "Of course you can." Aaron immediately turned her horse around. A soldier guarding the carriage called out, "Lady Aaron, this way, please." He lifted the curtain and informed the person inside, "Young Master Jimmy Lady Aaron of House Bija is here to greet you." He nodded and replied, Upon seeing Aaron, he immediately bowed to greet her. "Hello, Lady Aaron, I am Jimmy Phil." Aaron smiled and greeted him back. "Hello, Jimmy," she then said apologetically. "I've dragged your father into this troublesome matter. I'm truly sorry." He replied, "It's all right." This was my father's wish as well. After greeting him, Aaron turned and complimented Uncle Phil. "You have such an adorable son." The old man laughed with delight and replied, "Right, everyone who has ever met Jimmy says so." She extended an invitation. "Uncle, you must be tired from your journey. Please enter the city and rest first." The old man replied, "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Time passed, and the sun began to set inside Aaron's study. Host said excitedly, "With Count Phil supporting us, we've gained another trump card." Abby, who was next to him, nodded in agreement. "That's right, the situation has taken a turn for the better." Aaron rested her chin on her hand, lost in thought. "Is that so?" Host, noticing her strange behavior, asked her, "My lady, I feel like you've been repeating that same line since this morning. If there's something you're concerned about, please just tell us." She shared her thoughts. "I just feel that the timing of Phil's arrival is too coincidental. And then there's his son, Jimmy. He's extremely adorable, but he doesn't look like Phil at all. And more importantly, even though it was hidden by his hood, I saw it. Jimmy has white hair in a hallway of the Beja family palace. A man walked up to a room and immediately pushed the door open. The moment Phil saw him, he snapped, 'What are you doing here?' I'm pretty sure I told you not to come looking for me within the city of Beja." Matthew hastily knelt before him and begged, I'm so sorry, Count. Please give me another chance. I really didn't expect Aaron would rather offend House Gru just to protect that knight." He beat his chest, guaranteeing, "Please, give me one more chance. I will definitely make that Silver Moon Knight disappear from the Beja barracks the next morning at the Beja castle." Ray was scribbling something on a piece of paper. The kitten sitting beside him wagged its tail and asked Ray, "What are you doing?" He smiled and replied, "I'm listing the things I need to do after becoming a knight." He sat up with the notebook and explained during the knighting ceremony, Lady Erin told me to recite some oaths. To bravely stand against tyranny, to defeat all error, to fight for the defenseless, to help anyone who asks for my aid, to do no harm to women, and to help my fellow knights. Be sincere with friends and loyal to your lover until death. Gray, controlling the ironclad puppet, puts on his helmet and says, we sorcerers don't often swear oaths, but we abide by them. So I must hurry and fulfill these promises. I'll start with the simplest thing, helping those who ask for my help. In a city as big as White City, someone is bound to need help. The kitten, startled, runs after Gray's legs. Wait a minute, you want to go into the city now? It looks up and advises Gray, I wouldn't recommend going into the city right now. Gray asks, puzzled, why not? The kitten hesitated, and before it could finish speaking, a tomato was thrown right at his head. Gray was so stunned he was frozen to the spot. A woman stood inside a house. Holding a basket of tomatoes, she yelled, you scoundrel knight, how dare you casually ride on the main street with such a terrible reputation. Finishing her words, she threw more tomatoes at him, yelling, despicable, you degenerate scoundrel, bullying women, get lost, you're not welcome on this street. Gray took out a handkerchief to wipe the tomato from his helmet and asked, puzzled, why do I get the feeling that people here don't like me very much? It wasn't like this when I first came to the city. The kitten, hiding under his cloak, replied, I don't think this is really about you. It shrewdly pointed out that after the ball, someone has been exaggerating and spreading rumors. The rumors about you in White City make it clear this isn't aimed at you, but at the BC family. It added gently, so these people have just been deceived by the rumors. They just think that you're a bad person. Don't be sad. Gray was surprised, huh? Why would I be sad? The kitten continued, and as for these people, they believe whatever they're told without bothering to find out if it's true or not. He thought it feels a little pathetic. Just as he was leaving, Matthew appeared, clicking his tongue in annoyance. Daniel smirked and commented, this guy's got a good temper, doesn't he? He's not even getting angry after all that. Matthew gave a sharp smile. It's fine. After all, the next part of the plan is already set. Gray continued riding forward, looking around the city and remarking the streets of White City are so lively. He could feel the judgmental stares and hear the whispers. Hearing the gossip, he lowered his head in disappointment at the strange looks. Other than the way people are looking at me, everything else is fine. The kitten urged him to go back and report this to Lady Arandi. As he continued to ride off, the sound of footsteps echoed. From a distance, a child ran after him, shouting, Sir Knight, crying. The boy named An yelled, please wait a moment, Sir Knight. The boy then knelt on the ground in front of him, begging, please save us. Oh, Sir Knight in white armor. Seeing the child, Gray was deeply moved. Finally, some business. He regained his spirits and shouted, it's no problem. Whatever the trouble is, leave it to me. The kitten scolded angrily. You fool, you're supposed to ask what happened first. Seeing a group of people gathered ahead, the coachman asked the young lady the road ahead is blocked by a crowd. Should we take a different route? Then Sally, from inside the carriage, asked what was happening. The coachman replied, I don't know, but it seems to involve the Silver Moon Knight. Meanwhile, Gray had pulled the boy up onto his horse. So that's what happened. So your sister was kidnapped by thugs and they told you to come find me for help. The boy pointed and shouted, they're in that little alley up ahead. The kitten reminded him impatiently, hey, this is obviously a trap. Are you really going? Gray lowered his head and muttered, but this kid asked for my help. Besides, if it's a trap meant for me. You stopped in front of the alley, so I couldn't just stand by and watch. Inside, a few teenagers sat on stacked crates, laughing loudly. That night is so stupid for actually coming. Pang was holding a girl, sneering and cursing. What an idiot. Gray saw this and was confused. They're supposed to be thugs, but aren't they just a bunch of kids? And had already jumped off his horse, shouting loudly, Nania, I brought the knight in white armor. Now let my sister go. The kid pulled the girl beside him up and said, I know this great one always keeps his word. Suddenly, the kid swung his arm and threw her, saying, you better catch her. The boy was stunned and shouted. Sister Gray immediately spurred his horse forward. He reached out and caught the falling girl, holding her in his arms and asking with concern, are you okay? The terrified girl sobbed, I'm okay. He stopped his horse in front of those kids and muttered. Then he asked suspiciously, are these kids planning to ambush me barehanded? Pang smirked confidently and worriedly thought, Sir Knight. The boy lowered his head, his face darkening as he thought, I'm sorry. The boy then ran to the alley entrance and shouted loudly, startling Gray. Help, a BCS knight is kidnapping someone. Pang also shouted, those evil knights, they won't even spare children. At that moment, the little girl in Gray's arms began to struggle and scream, help, let me go, don't touch me. Gray was stunned by this scene. Wait a minute, you guys. What on earth is going on? The townspeople rushed to block his path, shouting, "Over there! Don't let him get away!" I thought it was just a rumor, but to think he'd actually prey on a child? Someone holding a rope growled, "Get off your horse now, you evil knight." Gray could only stand there helplessly. "No, I haven't done anything wrong." A woman hugged the child, comforting her. "You poor thing, don't be afraid, we will protect you." By then, Anne had successfully slipped away from the crowd. The boy quickly slipped into a nearby deserted alley. Pang saw him right away and called out, "And over here." He excitedly boasted, "Let's hurry and report this situation to that young master." Another kid agreed, "This way we can get a huge pile of money. The Reverend Father won't have to struggle anymore," and happily started to run toward his friend, thinking, "This is great, but I feel so guilty about that night." Suddenly, someone grabbed him by the collar. He was yanked back. Sally smirked as if she had heard the whole thing. "So you do know that what you did was wrong, huh?" And immediately panicked, struggling helplessly. "Well, who are you?" Sally smiled brightly. "Who I am isn't important. Just tell me about this young master. The one who's going to give you kids that big sum of money." Anne was on the verge of tears after being caught red-handed. Meanwhile, Gray's eyes were welling up and an annoyed villager turned back to scold him. "Don't cry. If you're a man, own up to what you've done." The kitten also cried out indignantly. "What karma did I create to end up in a mess like this, meow?" The townspeople gathered around, buzzing with gossip. "But isn't this knight supposed to be very powerful? Is it really okay for us to be doing this? What's there to fear, as if he'd dare to lay a hand on us? Let's just take him straight to the castle." Then Sally stepped confidently out of the crowd. "Let Lady Elim handle him and banish him from White City." Hearing this, the townspeople turned their attention toward her. Sally clicked her tongue and smiled, looking around. "It's so lively." The townspeople quickly recognized her and stammered, "You're Lady Sally." The noise and chatter grew even more intense. "Isn't she the girl from the rumors, the one who was bullied by that knight?" "It's her. I saw her at the conference. She's the Count's daughter. I've seen her before. This lady has such a good temperament. She's so polite even to common folk like us." "Why is a Count's daughter here? Is she also here to teach that knight a lesson?" Sally quickly put on a bright smile that made everyone blush. "So many people are gathered here. Are you holding some kind of event?" The kidnapper immediately looked smitten. No, Lady Sally, we are teaching a lesson to the evil knight who bullied you." Sally put her hand to her mouth, acting innocent. "An evil knight? Are you talking about Gray, the Silver Moon Knight?" She cleared her throat and offered an explanation. "I think there has been a misunderstanding." "The Silver Moon Knight has never bullied me. On the contrary, he helped me," the kidnapper awkwardly retorted. But the whole street is buzzing with rumors about what happened at the ball, and my mother even caught this guy red-handed bullying a little girl on the street." After hearing this, Sally paused to think for a moment before making a gentle suggestion. "Could I please meet the little girl who was bullied?" Hearing this, the crowd quickly parted to let the victim come forward. A woman helped the girl up with a sad expression. "Here she is, Lady Sally. If you don't believe us, you can just ask her. We all saw her get grabbed by that knight. It was terrifying." "Yes." Sally quickly stepped closer. "You're the little girl who was bullied." The little girl sadly nodded. Yes. Sally gently patted her head to reassure her. "You're so small, you poor thing. That must have been a terrifying experience." The little girl then continued to warn Lady Sally. "You absolutely mustn't let that knight fool you." Before she could finish, Sally suddenly flipped off the wig. The boy, caught by surprise, froze. Sally pretended to be shocked and exclaimed, "It really is a boy." The nearby townspeople gasped in shock. What's going on?" "Why is it a boy?" Sally laughed and explained everyone has been fooled by these children. The boy quickly looked around, trying to defend himself. "It wasn't me. I didn't." She turned and ordered her aide bring the other children here. He quickly obeyed and went to fetch them. "Yes, my lady." The crowd continued to buzz, looking at the group of children. "Aren't those the kids who were shouting for help earlier?" "Yes." Sally smiled gently, quickly reassuring them. "These children are also just victims of the rumor. After they believed the rumor, they concocted and acted out this malicious play themselves. Isn't that right?" And the boy sadly lowered his head and squeaked yes. The confused townspeople scratched their heads. "What, so it was just a malicious prank? So does that mean we've captured the wrong person?" "No. We've wrongly accused the Silver Moon Knight." Then Sally quickly looked up at the townspeople. "That's exactly right. You have all been used to wrongly accuse a good person." Seeing this, they looked awkward and didn't know what to do. About this. Sorry, don't just stand there, untie Sir Knight." Then she turned, smiled cheerfully, and made another announcement. Oh, right, there's one more thing. As I understand it, when Lady Elam bestowed the title of Silver Moon Knight upon Gray, she also granted him the rank of Baron and a fief, Sally declared in a loud, clear voice, which means everyone has attacked a Baron without cause and insulted his honor. As a Baron, he has the right to punish you all, doesn't he? The townspeople immediately cowered and played dumb about this. Something like that happened, but we didn't know the truth. That's right. If we didn't know, we're not at fault. Ray, with sad, teary eyes, asked, "Do I really have the right to punish them?" Sally smiled innocently and nodded, "Of course you do." He immediately glared, radiating a murderous aura. "All right, then. You dare insult my honor as a knight, I must punish you." Hearing this, they flinched and backed away in fear. Please, wait a moment. "We were wrong, your lordship, the Baron. It won't happen again, please forgive us." Ray, true to his word, rushed forward swiftly, too late. Forgiveness isn't something the wrongdoer can get just by asking for it with words. He quickly drew a few lines on the board. "You must pay the price for this." Ray confidently held up the sign and demanded, "I, Ray, am a good knight. You must hold this sign. Walk me through all the places we just went to one more time, and I will forgive you all." Everyone's jaw dropped, frozen on the spot, huh? Sally tried to stifle her laughter, but she couldn't hold it in any longer. She clutched her stomach and burst out laughing. "Ray, you're so interesting." Meanwhile, he continued to remind them with a serious face. Everyone stared wide-eyed. Really? You'll forgive us just for doing that." Of course, a knight always keeps his word. They hurriedly pushed and shoved each other to receive the punishment. Then, let me go first. No, let me go first. Can we come along too? Sir Knight, of course you can. We all came together anyway. That's great, Phil, watching from above with his arms crossed, sighed. So this is the result of giving you another chance, huh? Ray chuckled as he walked, praising her non-stop Miss Sally, "Thanks to your help. I was finally able to clear up the misunderstanding with everyone. Thank you, Sally," then leaned in and replied cheerfully, Likewise. Didn't you help me before, too?" She took a gentle step forward and said, "By the way, you should probably report this to Lady Elam." Ray turned his head suspiciously to listen. "I didn't say it earlier because we were in front of everyone." Sally's words made his body freeze on the spot. "The one who framed you is the young master Matthew of the BCS internal faction. He's the one who picked a fight with you at the ball that night. His goal is probably to drive a wedge between you and Lady Elam. The two of you should investigate his background." The kitten growled in frustration. As expected, this girl is more than she seems. But didn't the Gru family already refuse to join the BCS faction? "Something feels strange." Ray asked her why she's telling you all this. Ray asked suspiciously to confirm, "Why are you telling me these things?" Sally awkwardly scratched her face. "That's true, isn't it? If I get too close to you, it could drag the Gru family into the conflict." And then she let out a hearty laugh. "But it's because I find you very interesting, so I don't mind telling you." Hearing that Ray was dumbfounded and confused and interesting, this girl is really strange. Sally decided to break the awkward silence first. "Knight, let's say our goodbyes here. I still have to go to the theater, and you should quickly return to the city to report to Elam." Blushing, Gray raised his hand to wave goodbye. But before they could part, he was startled to see Matthew dash from an alley, grabbing Sally and covering her mouth. The two guards shouted in alarm, "My lady!" Matthew gritted his teeth, his eyes wide with menace as he threatened, "Stop right there! Don't come any closer." He held Sally hostage. "If you don't listen, I'll kill her." She wearily turned to glare at Matthew. "Why him again?" He looked down awkwardly, trying to sound menacing. "You seem very surprised, don't you?" "Lady Sally!" Matthew immediately put a weapon to her neck. "It's obviously because I don't want you to get dragged into this fight. That's why I'm doing all this. But look at you. You ran off on your own to help that stupid knight," he ranted. "Now I've been completely abandoned by that lord because of you." "Feeling wronged," Matthew yelled threateningly. "Why on earth did you help him? Do you want the House of Gru to be dragged into a war? What's so great about that idiotic knight anyway?" The guard, unsure what to do, yelled in frustration, "Is this guy insane?" Matthew slowly pointed a finger up and said, "Insane. Yes, I am insane. I am the insane one." He became incredibly sinister and cruel. "Even if I can't sow discord, I just need to eliminate that foolish knight. That lord will surely be pleased." Matthew immediately pointed at the knight. "Hey, knight over there, listen up. I know you're strong enough to uproot a large tree with your bare hands. If you cut off one of your arms and one of your legs, I'll let Sally go. Otherwise, I'll kill her." Though weary, Sally cursed inwardly. This guy has really lost his mind. "He's not my knight. Why would he do that for me?" Gray stood silently, saying nothing. Matthew continued his verbal assault. "Hurry up and do it. Aren't you a knight? You're not just going to stand by and watch someone die, are you?" And Gray replied slowly and deliberately, I understand. If I cut off one of my arms and one of my legs, you will release Lady Sally. He placed a hand on his other arm. I agree to this condition. Matthew blinked at a loss for words. It's just an arm and a leg, after all. Gray confidently raised his hand and shouted, I hope you keep your promise. The two guards gasped in unison, Sir Silvermoon Knight. Matthew laughed maniacally. You're the real madman. Gray looked down at himself and said, I'm not the madman. He then quickly threw the arm at his opponent. I'm a knight. Matthew was hit squarely by the arm and stumbled backward. The two guards seized the opportunity and rushed forward. Good chance, pin him down, Lady Sally, get behind me. Sally hesitated, observing everything closely. That severed arm. She was filled with suspicion. It's an empty gauntlet. Gray immediately put on a playful expression and chuckled. I just pulled my hand back inside the armor. It looked pretty real, didn't it? Sally stared, the realization dawning on her. This guy is pretty quick-witted. She calmly walked closer and said politely, Sir Knight, I have to thank you for saving my life again. He scratched his head bashfully. It's nothing, any knight would have done the same. Matthew, refusing to give up, spoke up menacingly. Do you really think you're safe just because you've overpowered me? He glared, reminding Sally this is all your fault. Matthew resentfully brought it all up. If you hadn't helped that knight, then your Gru family wouldn't have faced this disaster. When that time comes, you can cry while hugging your grandfather's corpse. Sally stroked her chin, observing her opponent thoughtfully as Asut wearily opened his eyes. Daniel and his comrades watched in excited anticipation. He's finally awake, he said playfully, tossing a knife in his hand. Our noble Count Gru. Daniel continued to scan the surroundings and remarked, this mansion's location of yours isn't half bad. No neighbors, and the security is so lax, breaking in was a piece of cake. He again tossed the knife playfully in his hand, which means we still have plenty of time to talk before we're discovered. Asut, with a stern face, got straight to the point. What do you want? Daniel continued to stall provocatively. Don't you want to ask who we are and why we captured you? Asut replied seriously. If you people wanted to talk, you would have done so without me having to ask. If you don't want to talk, then me asking is useless, but I don't think you came here to kill me. Hearing that, Daniel scoffed, spinning the knife in his hand. You're quite confident, aren't you? He casually threw the knife behind him without hesitation. As it happens, I'm tired of talking to you. The blade landed intentionally close to Asut's head. Daniel then glared down, his voice stern as he gave the order. Right now, you will immediately write a letter to your fief, telling them to send reinforcements to support the House of Bixia against the king. Asut immediately shot back, support the House of Bixia. But you're not Elam's men. Annoyed, Daniel stood up and got closer. Does it matter to you whose men I am? He leaned in, enunciating every word. Right now, you just need to obediently write a letter. Is that clear? Asut remained unyieldingly righteous. I'm sorry, I refuse. Provoked, Daniel grabbed him by the collar and yelled in his face, do you think you're in any position to refuse? Still think you're the high and mighty count, huh? If you don't write the letter, I'll kill you right now, and then I'll kill everyone else in this estate. Unafraid, he stared back. If you want to kill me, go right ahead. And Asut began his counter-psychological attack. Once you kill me, you won't get the letter and you won't get my seal. After I die, my son will immediately inherit my title according to my will. It is a testament that has been certified by the Archbishop. Not even the king can interfere with it. Hearing that, Daniel quickly let go, startled. Why would Phil send an impulsive man like you to kidnap me? Should you ask him for instructions on what to do now? He looked visibly flustered. How did you know it was... Meanwhile, in the study in BC City, Erin was calmly explaining Uncle Phil regarding our troop deployment. She quickly went over at each point. There are also 7 formations targeting the king that we need to discuss. Ahem. A man with blue hair opened the door and announced, Excuse me, milady. I'm sorry to interrupt, he said, with his head lowered, and in a serious tone, a messenger from Count Phil has arrived outside the city. Phil quickly turned and remarked, My messenger. My apologies, Elam. It seems I must take my leave for a moment. Erin casually replied, It's no problem. So the old man left with the blue-haired man. Erin watched them leave, thinking to herself, a messenger. She then gave an order to relay a message to House, telling him to take a team and follow Uncle Phil's messenger. Abby immediately acknowledged the order, Yes, milady. Meanwhile, Phil was outside leaning against the railing. He clutched the paper in his hand, troubled. Could she have figured out I was behind this from just a few words? Tiger is a sly old fox, a grumble. Few pondered for a moment, then ordered him to return and tell them to do this. If we do this, there is no fear that the old fox will not comply. The blue-haired man stood at attention to receive the order, yes, and then Few went back inside Erin's room where she looked up happily. Uncle, you are back. Did something happen? Fieu just waved his hand without a word. It is nothing, just some matters in the fief, nothing important. Erin's expression turned serious as she seemed to have guessed, so that is what it is. Just some business in the fief, huh? She rested her hands on the table, drumming her fingers. That is right, Uncle Fieu, there is something I forgot to tell you. Because we have entered a state of combat readiness. Erin Wu stated her condition. So White City is under curfew. Without my order, the city gates are forbidden to open at night, so I am very curious as to how your messenger from the fief managed to enter White City. Hearing this, Fieu's face flushed red. That night at the manor, Baldy looked out the window worriedly. It has been so long, why has the messenger not returned yet? He was stunned to see a figure approaching. Baldy turned to report to the team boss someone is back. Daniel also poked his head out to see. Is it the messenger? He shook his head and replied, no, but I recognize her. Baldy clearly identified the person. It is the young lady of the Gugu family Soleil. Soleil stood at the gate and announced, I am home. She naively opened the door and stepped inside. Why is it so dark there is not a single candle? Sally walked inside holding a kitten, calling out loudly, Is no one going to welcome me home? Annoyed, she walked straight inside. I told you not to hire servants from White City. But Sally continued to grumble, oblivious to the ambush. We will just have to fire them. Behind her, Daniel closed the door with a sinister grin. Very quickly, Sally was seized and gagged. Daniel looked up, laughing triumphantly. What a stroke of luck, a surprised Atut turned and cried out Sally. She winked as a signal. Daniel did not understand and stepped forward full of confidence. Sir Gregory, this is unfortunate for you. It is true I cannot do anything to you if you do not write the letter. He laughed more and more like a crime lord. But your granddaughter is another story. Everyone knows how much you dote on her. Daniel then stated his terms. What should I do with your granddaughter if you do not write the letter? Atut gritted his teeth in anger. You son of a bee, if you dare touch her, I will tear you into 100 pieces. Hearing this, Daniel grabbed Sally's arm. Tear me apart. Take a look at yourself. He tucked her under his arm like a package. Hey, old Duke. If I do something to your granddaughter right in front of you, what can you do? Are you going to pounce and bite me? He cursed in frustration on the spot. You damn you to hell! Daniel chuckled while removing her gag. Guess if I dare or not. By the way, I should take this tape off, right? It is no fun if you cannot scream. Sally gasped for air, sweating in fear, then she stuck her tongue out tauntingly. You idiot, your threats are so boring. Sally's words struck a nerve. I think you should not threaten anyone ever again, or else your boss will scold you for your crappy threats, you moron. Daniel slapped her hard, sending Shizwo flying. Shut your mouth. As his granddaughter fell, Atut screamed. Sally Daniel gave a triumphant smile. It seems Lady Sally is just like her grandfather, rude and stubborn. He and his comrades then stepped forward. Let me show you if I am just threatening you or if I will do it for real. Sally sat up, glaring, You dare. Daniel did not flinch, just sneered brat. The kitten quickly launched itself from above. It clawed at his face, making Daniel scream in pain. What the hell is this? He hurriedly clutched his bleeding face. Shiso, where did this cat come from? The kitten immediately took a necklace in its mouth, raised a paw, and shouted. Ray, a magic circle appeared with the command. Come here now, Daniel worried, forgot all about his scratch. What is happening? Flashing back to a short time ago. Ray was hiding in the distance, watching her villa. Sally astutely noticed it was late and there were no lights. Something must have happened. He quickly decided to step out all right. Let's go in and save them. She immediately stopped him. No. Sally glanced over and explained the situation. There are no less than 20 rooms in the mansion and 4 hidden ones. If we don't know their exact location, we might alert them. And they're holding 2 hostages. Gray looked over worriedly and asked, So what should we do? She pointed up and laid out a plan. Let me go in alone. If the bad guys are there, they'll definitely capture me. When the time is right, you can sneak in and follow me, okay? After hearing this, he turned to look at the kitten on his shoulder. That probably won't work with this armor. It's impossible to be stealthy. But if we have a specific location, we can go straight there. And Gray gave it to Sally like a gift, so you take this cat with you. She looked bewildered, a cat. The kitten turned its head back, annoyed, and snapped. What do you want me to do? If you find the location and then run out to report it, it'll definitely be too late, but he remained calm as if it were nothing. You don't need to come out to tell me. Gray immediately took out a pendant. You just need to wear this. The kitten stared blankly in confusion. What is this? He seriously explained to the two of them, it's a type of single-use charm. When you find the location, smash it on the ground and call my name. I will be teleported there. Now Daniel became extremely flustered and terrified what is going on. How can a person suddenly appear in midair? Charlie, despite the painful slap, still smiled with satisfaction. This is definitely magic. He truly has some kind of connection to the gods. I am Gray, appearing truly majestic and heroic. All sins can be washed away. All souls can be purified. Where the sunlight shines, darkness cannot exist. He held his hand out in front of him in a ready stance. I am Gray, the Silver Moon Knight. I will punish you on behalf of the gods. Catherine was elsewhere, sitting on a rooftop. Achoo, she sneezed hard and wondered what was happening. The messenger of the gods somewhere not far away, a soldier from behind, approached and whispered, "Boss, he's that Silver Moon Knight guy." Daniel gritted his teeth in annoyance. I know he postured and shouted, "What's there to be afraid of?" Daniel gave a contemptuous look. He's all alone now, so he immediately ordered the whole squad, everyone charge. One guy quickly lunged forward with a challenge, "Take this." The tip of the knife nearly touched Gray's face, but he stood perfectly still until it was right in front of his eyes. Then Gray looked at it, then he lightly glided to one side. Dodging the move, Gray immediately lifted his leg after that attack. He launched a powerful kick upwards with a challenge. "Now take this hammer act." The soldier flew backwards, stunning Daniel. He wasn't scared and continued to shout for the whole team. The team Daniel cleverly gave an order, but said it very loudly. "Just keep advancing. I'll circle behind him and grab the hostage." Gray smirked with his eyes as if to say, "Try me." He quickly dodged to the side and struck Daniel. He looked in pain at his trembling hand, my hand, before he could even register it. Chains flew out from all directions. What is this? It turns out Gray had already attacked and bound Daniel. The chains were flung everywhere, including at the soldiers. Now Gray was like a puppeteer, playing with Daniel's entire squad. After a sound beating, he let out a pathetic cry, "Damn it." Uncle Oot hurriedly ran over and asked, "Han, are you okay? Your wrist is twisted." She gently held it tighter. "I'm fine. How about you, Grandpa?" The old man chuckled and replied, "I'm fine." However, Uncle Oot didn't forget and turned back to think, his eyes as serious as a bullet. This night, upon seeing Uncle Oot, began to ponder many things. He appeared suddenly in mid-air. The old man quickly pieced everything together and summoned chains that emitted light. Even a fool would know that's magic. Only a saint class can use magic, a holy knight. What did Aaron do to recruit a saint class, and why didn't she announce it publicly? Uncle Oot stroked his long beard. Perhaps I must reevaluate House Bishop and Aaron's capabilities. Meanwhile, Gray looked blank and called out, "So now, Miss Selly," he asked innocently, "what's our plan? What should we do with them?" Selly hurriedly ran over cheerfully. "Let me handle this. Just leave it to me." She smirked confidently. First, Selly sat down and asked for information. "Your name is Eddie Daniel." "Correct." He was shocked. "How do you know?" She shrugged her shoulders without saying, "I know a lot of things because I go out a lot. I can gather quite a bit of strange information." Selly slowly stood up with an extremely calm demeanor. "For example, your family lives at number 38 Sephora Street, which includes your blind mother and a little sister my age." Hearing this, Daniel started to freak out and scream, "Don't do anything to them. My job has nothing to do with them." Sally was so confused she looked blank. "Why would I do that? They haven't done anything to me." She raised her voice to explain, "I just want to tell you a truth. No matter who is wrong or for what purpose you attacked the Gregory house, you have failed. You will obviously become witnesses to drag out the ringleader. If even I know who you are and about your family, then perhaps the one who sent you here knows even more." She flashed an innocent smile, her eyes crinkling as she raised her hand. "So now I'll give you two choices. The first choice is to name the ringleader. The second choice is for all of you to bite your tongues and die. Consider it as you all failing and being killed here. That way your families will be safe and sound." Daniel was angry, but there was a mix of confusion in it. "I choose the second option. If I go against that person, my family will surely all die. I hope Miss Sally here keeps her word and spares my family." As soon as he finished speaking, he bit his tongue and blood gushed out. Immediately after blood gushed from his mouth like a waterfall, the soldiers hurriedly turned around. Horrified Boss Sally watched nonchalantly with her eyes half closed. "That's quite brave, isn't it? How moving." She suddenly noticed Addit standing still all this time. Then Sally went over and asked him, "What's wrong, mister?" Addit quietly looked down below and explained the Bishop House sent people over to pick us up, that Miss Oren is quick-witted indeed. He smiled lightly and said no more. It seems she already suspected Felder's messenger after that. Sally immediately suggested eagerly, "Let's not wait, let's go down there." "We shouldn't keep them waiting long," she decisively suggested. "Count, it's time to talk with Aaron." Down below, Host tensed up and gave the order, "Search carefully, ensure the Duke's safety." Understood. Aaron asked in a stern voice, "Do you wish to explain anything, sir?" Lord Felder looked awkward and immediately waved his hand in refusal. "What is there to explain? Haven't I already told you? Some people need to know pain to realize which choice is correct." Aaron lowered his head, hiding his expression behind his hair. But I never asked you to do that, the old man immediately retorted. You didn't object either. Phil continued to give all sorts of reasons. I thought you would thank me for doing it on your behalf. Don't look at me with such cold eyes. I guarantee that after this incident, that old fox will come to you to negotiate. The old man crossed one leg and brought up the past. Aaron, you are not like your father to help you. I had to take a very big risk. Felder gave a forced smile and reminded him, you are still weak now, so I have to help you. You should be grateful to me. Aaron immediately cut him off right there. You have taught me a lesson, sir. Abby left in a rage, that scoundrel. Does he think we're a bunch of fools? He hissed, recounting everything. His plan was to make the Gregory house send a troop to help the Bishop house, but doing so is no different than causing a misunderstanding between the two houses. We're supposed to thank him. What a shameless bastard. Aaron took a few steps forward and calmly reassured her. Calm down. Abby Roberts raised her jade green eyes to look at her comrade. If we make a move against him now, it will make the other families hesitant to join us. If that is Felder's goal, then only he will be happy. Then the two of them walked and discussed more important matters. Duke Gregory is fine. He was okay even without Ray's help. Horace brought him to the castle and they're in the waiting room. Ray, you're everywhere, huh? It seems Gray was also targeted by Felder and he went to Sir Gregory for some clues. Adut sat down to rest, his arm bandaged. You're here, Aaron announced as he walked in. I'm sorry for being late. Sir Gregory gave a polite smile. It's all right. Adut quickly got to the point. Have you discussed it with Felder yet? Aaron bowed his head with a slight nod. Just now. He and she slowly began their conversation. His purpose is... He explained that he wants to help me get assistance from your army. I can't tell if he's being sincere. I'm just afraid he's a pawn of the king. After hearing this, Adut remarked, he's not that simple. If we make a move against him, it could lead to civil unrest, and civil unrest would be a valid reason. For the king to send his army to attack us. But Aaron, why are you so suspicious of him? Aaron nodded in agreement. Because of the son that Felder brought with him here. Jimmy has white hair, which isn't normal at all. In the kingdom of Isaac, only the House of Beach has white hair. He hesitated, realizing what she meant. Jimmy could be the illegitimate son from the rumors. She kept raising questions. But why would Felder bring him here? Wouldn't this create an opportunity for us to kill him? She let out a frustrated sigh. I don't understand either. We can only wait and see what happens. Now Phil arrived before the door of an unfamiliar room. The old man pushed the door open without hesitation. A pitch-black space greeted him with only the light from outside filtering in. Jimmy glanced over as if he had expected him. Why come to see me at this hour? He tilted his head and smiled softly. Are you in some trouble? Phil didn't answer, just stared for a long moment. Then the old man bowed sorrowfully as Phil sincerely apologized. Forgive me, my lord, I am truly sorry. Jimmy gave a cold, distant smile. Spare me the formalities, I don't care for them. He lowered his gaze, trying to appear gentle. Tell me what has driven you to seek my help. Phil anxiously reported everything. It's the Silver Moon Knight. He has repeatedly ruined our plans starting from the incident at the seaport. Jimmy stroked his chin, nodding repeatedly. Phil continued his explanation. He's very strange. No one knows his origins. He always acts childish, but in truth he is very resolute, unswayed even by insults, and he's strong enough to defeat 100 men at once. The old man emphasized his final point. Most importantly, he is very loyal to Aaron. In short, a troublesome figure. After listening, Jimmy curled his lip into a delighted smirk. I see. He waved his hand nonchalantly and spoke. You want the Silver Moon Knight to disappear, is that it? A flock of bats appeared from nowhere, a truly bizarre sight. All right, I will help you. Wings sprouted from Jimmy's back as bats swirled around him. After all, I am quite curious about him. Phil gritted his teeth, a delighted smile on his face as the bats quickly flew outside, filling the sky. Catherine immediately grabbed one, causing it to screech. Unafraid, she clutched it tightly in her palm. A new target, an immature vampire, requesting permission to eliminate. The voice on the other end of the line was serious. Permission denied. Just like with the Lich, if it poses no harm to humans, you are to do nothing. Hearing this, Catherine clicked her tongue in annoyance. They were quick to call her out. Just observe from a distance. Hey, did you just click your tongue? I'm sure I heard you click your tongue. She released the bat, letting it fly away, and replied in a gentle tone. No, you must have misheard. I just mean to say you're far too protective of these little demons. First the Lich, now a vampire. This place is going to be swarming with devils before we know it. Catherine looked up at the sky in frustration. Because of the treaty, all I can do is watch from a distance and do nothing. This is so damn annoying. The voice on the other end kept trying to console her. Calm down, Catherine. If we don't abide by the treaty, how are we any different from them? Everywhere you look, there are signs that the demons are about to rise to the surface. Everyone was summoned to the meeting room. Chung Aaron gravely proposed, I want to hear the opinions of you two regarding the deployment of the defense line. Fu Trung began to speak, his face serious. Against that old fox's army. We can expand the defense line a bit. The young fiend closed his eyes, explaining very slowly, No problem just as long as you don't station my army with his. He then added a provocative remark, Who knows when you might stab me in the back? Hearing this, the old man grew resentful. You plan to defy the king, yet you don't trust your own allies. Jimmy rushed in, excitedly yelling, Father, Father, Fu instinctively turned towards Jimmy. The old man then lifted his pretend son and put on an act. What are you doing here? If you're not feeling well, you should be resting in your room. Jimmy also played his part perfectly, but ever since we came to White City, you haven't played with me at all. Father Fu forced a repentant smile. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Father is very busy right now. Can you play with someone else? The boy whined resentfully. I want to play with a knight, Jimmy quickly pointed at Gray. That knight over there with that. Jimmy grabbed an oil lamp and led the way. Gray asked suspiciously as he walked down into the cellar. Jimmy, aren't we going to play? Why are we coming down here? He lowered his head, hiding his eyes behind his hair, leaving only a smile. Don't worry, we're almost there. Jimmy then stopped and turned around to announce, We've arrived at the underground playground. No one will bother us here. The Silver Moon Knight peeked from behind them curiously. An underground playground? This is the labyrinth beneath the city. What can we possibly play here? Jimmy retorted irritably. You should complain less. I only invited the knight, not you. You followed us down here on your own. She immediately clarified, Don't sweat the small stuff. It was boring in the meeting room, so I just wanted to play. Jimmy, annoyed, took a few steps forward and mumbled, Fine, you can play too. This way. The game is very simple. It's called Warrior and Dragon. Jimmy chuckled without turning around. A long time ago, there was a dragon that lived in a labyrinth. It kidnapped a white-haired princess, who lived in White City, which made many people furious. He leaned his head back and began his little performance. In the end, a brave knight slew the dragon. A good story, isn't it? That was the illusionist. Both of them immediately fell into a hypnotic trance. Jimmy pointed at Sally. You are the warrior. He turned to look at Gray, and you are the dragon. Jimmy continued in a high, hypnotic voice. You two are enemies of each other. He smiled triumphantly and gave the command from now on. Gray lowered his head and immediately drew his sword. Jimmy, holding the lamp from behind, shouted the battle for the princess. Between the warrior and the dragon begins. Suddenly Gray hesitated and spoke up. I have something to say. He quickly scratched his head with a bashful expression. I don't want to be the dragon. Can I be the brave warrior instead? Hearing this, Jimmy froze on the spot. Gray continued to ramble on. Brave also means handsome, right? It's more fitting for a knight like me, Jimmy thought, bewildered and annoyed. What is happening? My ultimate technique failed. Jimmy gritted his teeth, feeling flustered. Impossible. This spell can't fail unless the target's magical power is greater than my own. But he's just a human. The kitten suddenly leaped up and shouted, Shut your mouth! Who gave you the right to call yourself a knight? The cat screeched furiously. You are merely the mount of this great dragon. Get on the ground now! Cat Gray, confused, quickly tried to console it. What's wrong with you? The kitten, witnessing everything, made Jimmy reconsider. It wasn't a failure, just the wrong target, so he let out a long sigh, scratched his head, and said, No problem. Everyone makes mistakes. Let's try again. Jimmy started hypnotizing again, his hand making a heart sign, which made the kitten angrily order, Why don't you lie down already? But he remained completely still, and Ray grew more and more confused watching this. He angrily squeezed the demon in his hand, making it even more uncomfortable. Stop it, kitten! I am a dragon, meow! Jimmy also shouted in frustration, Don't ignore me, doing that pose is so embarrassing. He was dumbfounded, not understanding what was happening. Damn it, the magic really has no effect on him. This is so confusing. Sally slowly stepped forward from behind, making him start to worry. What is this? Isn't this the girl who came down with me? Jimmy looked down at her hand. She was holding a brick, and Sally's eyes were now incredibly cold. Princess, please hide behind me. Jimmy breathed a sigh of relief. She's been hypnotized. But why am I being called a princess? He suddenly realized his mistake, the dragon that kidnaps the white-haired princess from White City Whitehair. That's the story I was thinking of before I cast the spell. Then Sally stepped forward, acting like a knight princess. "Get behind me, I will free you from this evil dragon." Meanwhile, Gray and the kitten were still fighting relentlessly. Sally raised the brick high, and without hesitation she slammed it down hard on Night Ray's head, who hurriedly pleaded, "Miss Sally, what's wrong? Don't hit me." Very quickly after that, both he and the kitten lay motionless on the ground. Sally turned around, giggling sinisterly. "Princess." Her eyes became lifeless, and her smile grew more twisted. "Let's go to our castle of love." Jimmy was now so scared he was on the verge of tears. He screamed helplessly in despair. "No, don't come near me, somebody help." They say that for the rest of that day. The echo of a child's voice could be heard from underground as dusk slowly fell upon the palace. People rushed in shouting, "Doctor, doctor, we have an emergency." Aaron turned back with a serious voice. "Ray, I need an explanation," she said, emphasizing every word as she looked toward the bed. Why did Miss Sally fall into a coma after going out with you all this afternoon?" Ray bowed his head and respectfully reported, "Your Highness, it's not just Sally." He then walked over to his pet. "My cat is in the same condition." After listening, Aaron put a hand to her chin and thought, according to Ray, they were just playing a game. Abby immediately came in to inform her the doctor has a diagnosis, Your Highness. He whispered into her ear, "Sally and this cat seem to have been afflicted by black magic. We should call for a priest." Aaron crossed her arms, considering it seriously. Black magic caused by Jimmy? Then how come Gray is perfectly fine? Perhaps because Gray has divine protection, he wasn't affected, in other words. Ray can handle Jimmy, correct. Dora, in the form of a bat, arrived carrying a food container. She flew straight through the wide-open window and quickly transformed into her human form, food container in hand. The little girl smiled brightly. "Master John, I've brought you food." Seeing him huddled under the blanket confused Dora. Master John, she gently pulled the blanket down, looking bewildered as she got closer. John pursed his lips as if he was about to cry. "Dora, your voice is as terrible as ever." The little girl looked dumbfounded, not understanding what was happening. Dora began to stomp and make a fuss. "Oh my goodness, why are you crying, Master? Whoever bullied you, I'll kill them." John quickly gestured for silence. "Shh, keep your voice down or we'll be discovered." He sadly crawled out from under the blanket and confessed, "A girl threatened me with a brick, and she hugged me tightly in front of everyone, which was very embarrassing. So I must get my revenge hearing this." Dora covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. "You got hugged by a girl? That's a blessing, and you're still complaining." John clenched his fists in frustration. "If you're just here to laugh, then get out." He gritted his teeth resentfully. "It's all that Felder's fault. He's the one who asked me to do this. If this happens again, Aaron will get suspicious. Damn it, why is my magic not working on that night, Dora?" "There is no need to complicate this matter." The girl enthusiastically raised her hand and declared with confidence, "Just give me the order, Master, and I will kill them, whether it is Gregory the Silver Moon Knight or even Aaron." John's face went blank as if he was moved, but it turned out he just gave her a cold smack on the head, "You idiot." He explained with his eyes half closed, "Listen here. I am not allowed to kill people because of the articles in the treaty. We have been operating quite openly lately, so there are probably angels watching us. We will be in big trouble if we get caught." Dora retorted in frustration, "But angels are stupid. If we do not attack humans, they will not do anything." Catherine sighed heavily and leaned forward on the other end of the line. The person continued to warn Catherine. He worriedly reminded her several times, an intelligent angel should not get angry over a vampire's words. "Can you put down the sword?" "Do not be impulsive." Catherine casually cleaned and cherished her blade. What did you say, teacher?" "I am just cleaning my sword." "I am not an impulsive person," he shouted in frustration. "A sword of light needs cleaning." Dora continued to speak in defense. "Young master, I understand. But right now we are at a stalemate and at a disadvantage." John then took a sip of his meal. "It is fine. I have a plan to eliminate the Silver Moon Knight. Tell that king to send his shadow soldiers to me." He immediately spat it out with a whimpering voice. "Dora, why does this shizu smell like alcohol? I hate alcohol." "I took the blood of an alcoholic." She casually walked closer and confessed. He trembled and protested vehemently. "What, you could not have taken blood from a beautiful girl?" "Young master, killing alcoholics is the best way to avoid being discovered. The vampires in the north even have to drink pig's blood," the girl nonchalantly reminded him. "Do you want to drink pig's blood, young master?" Hearing that John sobbed on the verge of tears, then he started crying loudly like a child. "My blood count is dropping." Dora quickly patted his shoulder to comfort him. "Do not cry. The future vampire lord must not cry. You are our hope, young master. You must endure the bitter and the sweet to become strong the next morning." John opened his eyes, completely stunned and confused. Ray cheerfully propped himself up on his two hands and looked at the other person. John shot up in surprise, shouting, "Why are you in my room?" His face was dazed and deathly pale. Ray cheerfully raised a hand coyly. "I came to play with you, kiddo. Miss Aaron told me to take good care of you." He quickly glanced around the room. "Miss Aaron said yesterday's game was too dangerous, so today we will play house." Ray hastily grabbed John without a second thought. "I will be your daddy. Let's go out and sunbathe." Hearing this, he panicked, his mind going blank. The sun. Ray turned back confused, looking at his son. "What is wrong?" "The path to becoming the vampire lord will probably be very difficult now. Everyone is strolling around the inner city." A citizen suddenly shouted, attracting attention. "Hey, look." "Greetings, Sir Knight." John, hidden under the armor, could only shed tears. He and Ray were riding a horse step by step into the inner city. Everyone immediately moved aside and greeted them. "Hello, Silver Moon Knight, would you like some breakfast?" "No, thank you." John whimpered, shedding tears, not daring to resist. In his heart, he wanted to scream in protest. "Damn it, how did I end up like this?" Everything quickly replayed in his mind when Ray opened the window. "Son, I am sorry. I did not know you were afraid of the sun." John continued to whine and cower. "Close the curtains. Or else do not blame me." Ray closed his eyes and thought, "Little Jimmy, as a knight's son, you should not be cooped up at home. As a father, I will help you get outside, okay?" John also stubbornly played his part. "I do not need you as a father. Do not talk to me. Get out of my room or I will scream." He then started flailing his arms and legs, warming up enthusiastically. "No way. Miss Aaron said father has to watch you all day today." Ray clenched his fist, showing his high resolve. "So come outside with father." "Little Jimmy is going out for an experience?" John shouted in frustration. "What is wrong with you? Are you insane? Just do not listen to what she says." As he finished, a punch flashed past his face like lightning. The wall behind him immediately exploded, leaving John stunned. Ray glared, his eyes filled with threatening fire at the disobedient child. "He needs to be taught a lesson, right? Does little Jimmy want to be disciplined?" John's face went pale, completely drained of strength. "This lunatic made a hole in the wall with just a single punch. What kind of monstrous power is this? Damn it, he is toying with me. This is terrifying." He reluctantly mounted the horse in resentment. "Just you wait, you rotten knight. I will have my revenge one day." Pang hurriedly pushed his friend out from the alley. "It's the Silver Moon Knight. Go out there and say it." And struggled and protested irritably. "Why me? It was your idea," the other kid retorted. "But you were the one who tricked him, so go." Hearing the commotion, Ray quickly turned around. He called out, even though the kids had hidden, "Hey, you kids." Pang, sad and regretful, was frozen. "We have been discovered." However, Ray just gently reminded them, "Do not go into such a dark alley. You kids could be in danger," and froze on the spot, unsure of what to do. The boy gritted his teeth, his body trembling, and burst into tears and sobbed, "Sir Silver Moon Knight, I am sorry." Ray was surprised and confused as the kids continued to confess with tear-filled eyes. "We are sorry for deceiving you, sir." The boy honestly explained the whole situation. "We were all taken in by the church, but ever since the war, the church has been having financial problems, so we listened to a bad person to try and harm you for money. But you forgave us and even donated all of your assets to the church. We respect you as a true knight." Ray blushed happily. "I only did what needed to be done, just like any other knight. And also ashamed, confessed sincerely, but you were the only one who helped us." The boy clenched his fists with determination. "When we grow up, we want to be a great knight just like you." Pang and the other kid giggled gleefully. "That is right, that is right. Please watch us." Ray's expression became serious as he looked down to confirm, "You kids really want to become knights." Pang and An replied in unison, "Of course we really do." Ray grew even more enthusiastic, clenching his fist. "Then why wait until you grow up, join me, and become knights?" Hearing this, both kids were shocked with their mouths agape. "Really?" Ray swiftly commanded the kids, "Why not come with me to the church?" The children immediately followed, overjoyed. "We can become knights right away. By the way, who is that on the horse with you? Why is he wearing armor too?" He solemnly patted the head of the child sitting with him and introduced him. "Let me introduce you. This is my son, little Jimmy, whom I just adopted this morning," and was surprised and somewhat envious. "You adopted him. He is your adopted son. He is so lucky." But Ray boasted with extreme confidence, "He is my son." Hearing this, the children joyfully pleaded, "I want to be a knight's son too." "Me too," he agreed, shouting loudly, "Okay, from this day forward, all of you are my sons." Dinjun stepped out startled and asked Sir Knight, "What is happening?" Ray casually made his request, "I want these children to become knights, Pastor. Please be our witness." He gave an awkward smile and pointed inside where he was apparently playing with the children. You're a good person, Sir Knight. Of course, let's go into the church. Deanne whispered as the door opened, but there were some people praying. Please wait a moment. Ray was surprised looking up at the person praying. Since arriving in White City, this is the first time I've seen someone come to the church to pray. It was a white-haired girl completely cloaked. Ray felt a sense of familiarity and a bad omen. Catherine then turned around to greet them. The Silver Moon Knight. What a coincidence. It's a pleasure to meet you. I am Catherine. He immediately broke into a sweat, realizing this feeling could only be. Anne and the children shouted in unison, humility, integrity, compassion, courage, justice, sacrifice, honor, loyalty. All three of them bowed their heads and shouted clearly, We are ready to face the strong. We do not serve God, but we always stand for what is right. We protect the weak even at the cost of our lives. We always keep our promises until death. We are the brave who stand against injustice. We do not condone acts that go against morality. The children continued their oath in Ray's presence. We do not oppress anyone. We help those who need help. We do not harm women. We always stand shoulder to shoulder with our knightly brothers. We always trust our friends. He watched seriously as the children performed the ceremony. These oaths we will keep until death. We will always be loyal to Sir Ray. His enemies are our enemies. Whoever harms him also harms us. Ray immediately swung his sword down decisively. I, Ray, the Silver Moon Knight, accept this loyalty. I shall bestow upon you titles, and I swear to protect you until the end of my days. Hearing this, all the children blushed with immense pride. They shouted joyfully in celebration. Yes, from this day forward, we are also knights. Ray seriously pointed a finger and added, Don't get too happy too soon. Listen, as knights you must always train. He closed his eyes, lecturing like a teacher. I will provide you with armor and horses. Then we will train. But before that, we need a name for our order and a banner. Anne and Pang looked on, their eyes shining with surprise. You're so thoughtful, Sir Ray. You're like a real knight commander. He quickly corrected the children. What did you just say? I am your commander now, so don't call me sir. Call me Commander Ray. Ray sighed and looked down. These kids. He then remembered the angel from before and hesitated in his heart. I never doubt my choice, and I don't regret becoming a knight. Just then Ray walked into the church where only Catherine was. Although I had prepared for this day, I just didn't expect it to come so soon. He stared at her back until she turned around. She had hidden her aura, but he could still tell she was an angel. Ray suddenly became flustered, not knowing how to react. What should I do? She's not going to kill me, is she? I need to find a way out. Catherine quickly spoke to reassure him, I'm not going to do anything to you. She calmly explained, After all, you haven't broken any laws or harmed any humans. I'm just curious about you. So come over here and let's talk for a bit. So Ray sat down beside her, trembling. He fearfully turned to her and said, I'm sorry. Catherine glanced over coldly and asked, I want to know why you want to be a knight. It doesn't seem fitting for a lich, does it? Hearing the question, Ray was taken aback for a moment. Why do I want to be a knight? He then began to ramble on enthusiastically, because it's cool, and I can create a great story about myself. Everyone around me will respect me. There's nothing better than respect. Hearing this, Catherine rested her chin on her hand, observing him. How naive. Does he say that without any shame about being a lich? But her expression immediately grew serious. Hey, you think becoming a knight is cool, but it's not an easy path. One day, if you are no longer respected, or even have your own master doubt your decisions, you will no longer find happiness in being a knight, only confusion and suffering. She sat up straight, her gaze fixed on him. And you still want to be a knight? Ray left with a lingering question in his mind. How could being a knight be so painful? I don't understand. Besides, Lady Erin is a good master. She doesn't suspect me, Sir Angel. You should learn more about her before you talk to me. Dean hurriedly ran after the knight. He continued to shout. Sir Silver Moon Knight Ray turned back in confusion with his horse. Huh. Dean was panting heavily from the chase. Thank goodness you haven't gone far. He smiled with such kind eyes that it surprised the boy. Pastor Dean calmly explained everything. I came to thank you, Sir Knight. Thanks to your help, the children. The mischievous ones have started to read the Holy Scriptures seriously. He frankly admitted his admiration. I admire you second only to the Lord himself. A devout knight like you should receive a holy title. Hearing that made Gray blush in embarrassment. He immediately grabbed the pastor's hand. You mean you can help me receive divine recognition and become a saint? Gray continued to pour his heart out. This means so much to me. Dean then cut in with a reminder of the situation. Putting that aside for a moment, I think you should move the rest of the church out of this city. War is coming. Leave here to keep the children safe. He then gave a mysterious smile. To be honest, I can't provide for those children. Not without a stipend from you, Sir Knight. Children are always beloved by the divine, so you wouldn't abandon them, would you? As soon as he finished speaking, Gray dashed off. I get it. You need money, right? I'll go to the tavern. The pastor waved goodbye in confusion. Why a tavern? Dora looked worriedly at the listless John, Master John. The little girl tilted her head quizzically. Are you alive? He replied in a weak voice. Of course I am. Dora was very confused and curious. Why are you so gloomy, Master? Did something happen again? John managed to rasp out. You can't imagine what I went through today. He looked up with his haggard, tired eyes. That idiotic knight came to my room this morning and said he wanted to be my father. When I refused, he punched a hole through the wall and threatened me. Then he forced me into a suit of armor and made me stand in the sun all day. The worst part is he took me to a church. I never thought I'd have to set foot in a church in my entire life, John wailed pathetically. Do you know how the statue of the Lord in there was smiling? It was like it was smirking at me for being there. Dora could only cover her mouth to stifle a giggle. Pfft. This brought him to the verge of tears. You're laughing when I'm suffering like this. How dare you? The girl immediately hugged him tightly to comfort him. Master John, you're so cute. Don't be sad anymore. Dora will give you a hug. John stopped crying and shouted irritably, Get off me, you stupid, smelly Dora. Dora's expression suddenly became serious. By the way, if you're really in trouble, Master, you should ask that king to send troops. John pursed his lips in annoyance. I don't want to. I can't become a true lord if I keep asking others for help. He gently reassured his ally, Don't worry about me. I will endure this for the revival of our bloodline. The terrible things I experience today are a gift that will make me grow stronger. No one can stop me from becoming the lord of the bloodline. Dora nodded happily in support. Nothing is impossible for Master John. Meanwhile, at a certain tavern, people were shouting and celebrating enthusiastically. The other drinkers laughed as they watched. Hey, that knight's got skills. Look, another idiot is about to lose. Just then Gray shouted joyfully, I win again. Impossible, I just swapped the cards. He looked confidently at the pouch of money he'd won. This should be enough. Then Gray carried it to his carriage and prepared to leave. I shouldn't keep the pastor waiting long. A drunkard ran out. Hey, Sir Knight, wait a minute, he pleaded, holding his beer mug. You took my entire month's salary. Please give me a little back. Our friend Ray innocently asked, How much do you need? The drunkard casually named a price. 50 or 100 silver coins. The naive Gray simply agreed okay. He handed over a huge bag of silver and reminded him, Hey, no more gambling, all right? Gray's words were overheard by some thugs. This is all I can give you. For a donation to the church, he nodded happily and repeatedly, Thank you so much, sir. They quickly winked at each other, then everyone ran out one by one to beg. Sir Silver Moon Knight, we need money too. My mother is terribly sick and needs money for treatment, and my child needs to pay school fees. Can you help us? And so everyone begged until morning. My family needs to buy a house. He left in a daze, not understanding a thing. It's not just the pastor everyone needs money. I need to figure out how to make more money in the next few days. He looked at the 2 coins in his hand. I only have 2 silver coins left, but that's all right. The pastor will love it. Soon Gray returned to the church. A boy with excited, teary eyes greeted him. Sir Gray the boy happily raised a flag and boasted, We've come up with a name for our squad. The Invincible Squadron of the Silver Page. We even spent all night making the banner. All his worries vanished. That's great. We'll start training now and become the #1 knights in the city. He unconsciously looked around. By the way, isn't your son coming, sir? Gray scratched his head as he remembered. If you kids hadn't reminded me, I would have forgotten. I'll go home and get Jimmy. Meanwhile, Dora gently approached and spoke. Young Master John, he listlessly refused. Just leave me alone. The girl smiled gently and asked again, What's wrong, young master? Hearing her question, John looked even more blank. Me-oh. He heaved a long sigh and explained everything. On Monday, I have to practice horse riding under the hot sun. On Tuesday, I have to learn swordsmanship under the sun, but that idiotic knight is even worse with a sword than I am. After that, I have to read books about knights' dance and do chores. And why is that idiotic knight so obsessed with women's clothes anyway? Why doesn't he just go wear them himself? Dora tried to suppress a laugh, turning her face away. This is so depressing. John sat up wearily. I can't stand it anymore. I want to kill that knight. Tell that king to do something, Dora. The innocent girl replied, But a few days ago you said we shouldn't act so soon. He yelled in frustration. Well, I've changed my mind now. To hell with the plan. I want to kill that knight. So Dora bowed her head to carry out the order. Understood. Dora will make the arrangements.